Hey everyone, good evening. It is about 7:45 on the East Coast. A rainy night here in Miami, Florida. I am Suzette Speaks, and if you are watching live, I want to welcome you. And if you're watching Team Replay, I want to welcome you as well. I'm grateful that each and every one of you are here and tuned in. We got a good open mic Wednesday question for you, and I have the right man to help me do the unpacking. Yes, the one and only Uncle Stu, the old man on the block, is with me tonight. My very special guest. Please go over to his channel. Make sure you support. Check him out. He has some really deep conversations. Very enlightening gentleman. He also has a strong religious faith. He has been married. He is married. He is married. Father, granddad, so many parts of him that I think will inform tonight's conversation. So, the question of the night is, when must you confer with your spouse on decisions? I know it seems like for some, no brainer when it comes to maybe big decisions, big spending. Do you have rules for this? Over $1,000, over $500, over $100? Do you have to check in with your spouse on decisions, and which decisions exactly? So I have a scenario that a friend of mine sent me that made me think about this question. But before we get to it, hit the like button. Show Uncle Stu some love. He is a regular over here. He always is so supportive of the Suzette Speaks channel. And if you guys have never watched my show, well, welcome. First of all, hit the like button, whether you're watching on Facebook or over here on YouTube. My main channel is on YouTube. So come on over. The Suzette Speaks show is kind of a modern day talk show of sorts. I don't stay on one particular type of topic. If I find it interesting, quite frankly, I talk about it, whether it has to do with current events, law sometimes, relationships, which I'll seem to like to talk about, when it comes to do with relating to yourself, personal development. And most importantly, I like to be educational and uplifting and inspiring while we chit chat. So that is the purpose of my YouTube show. So if you were new, I saw a bunch of new subscribers. Welcome. I call the folks who hang out over here my speakers. Big up to all my speakers. I am Jamaican American. I say I'm the best of both worlds. To Jamaicans, I seem very American, and to Americans, I seem kind of Jamaican. So whichever one you categorize me, I'm thoroughly proud Floridian, Miamian, and American. So I'm really excited that everyone who touches this channel, watches a video, I just got advice that, Sue, you need to go back and clip a whole bunch of stuff. You have such interesting conversations over here. So I'm going to start clipping some stuff, guys, so you can go look back at some of the shows we've already done. We've put in work, man. So thank you to all my past guests, but I'm really excited to have the guest who is going to grace this show stage in just a few moments. His name is Uncle Stu. He goes by the old man on the block. Uncle Stu, I just realized on the brand side, I still have a pink background. I might change it before I bring you up. My bad. I just realized, I was like, I didn't change the background for Uncle Stu. I need to give him a little bit more masculine than the pretty pink that I used last night for Roxy Beckles. But I don't think he mind. He's securing his masculinity, y'all. So we'll put this one. I think that might be a little bit more suitable for Uncle Stu, because I think coming from a grown man, Uncle Stu is a grown man. All right, ain't no little boy stuff over here. He has lived, and I respect elders. Right, I respect people who have sense. Just because people are older, sometimes they don't have sense. Still, God help us. No judgment and observation. So when we get to glean, as the Bible talks about, from other people's wisdom, I'm all for it, right? I am definitely a student tonight. I've never been married, don't have kids. So in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, it'd be easy to kind of figure out when I should ask my husband I guess, is it his permission or opinion? Is it his permission or opinion? I don't know. Some of you guys who are married, I would love for you to speak up, chime in. Let me know what your thoughts are when it comes to decision making and your spouse. The topic for tonight is when to consult your spouse. When is it important to ask and then take? That's the key, Uncle Stu. take your spouse's opinion on decisions, right? There are matters that are going to affect the other person, of course, financially speaking. If you have a family, it definitely will affect the unit. And sometimes when it comes to different types of decisions, I don't know if we think about how the other person would feel. Do you have rules for your relationship? Or if you have been in a long-term relationship, how did you handle this? And I'm going to read a quick scenario before I bring up Uncle Stu, because this is the scenario that a friend girl of mine who happens to be a dentist brought up and made me really think, oh my gosh, this would be great for, and I asked her, I was like, can I use this for open mic conversation? Y'all get the likes up. The open mic is here. What does that mean? That means after Uncle Stu kind of does some unpacking and decides, hey, this is where I see things going, kind of does, just lays a foundation. I want to hear from you. So I will be dropping the link nice and early so that you have an opportunity to voice your opinion on when to consult your spouse, on what decisions must you consult your spouse on, and more importantly, what happens if they don't agree? Who do you listen to? What do you have to do then? Uncle Stu, thankfully, is here. He has lots of experience, and he's going to help us understand a little bit more about relationships and their dynamics. Y'all, welcome again. Hit the like button. I'm going to bring him up. There's the Cash App if you want to support. But again, I'm so excited that he is here helping me understand when the time comes what I need to be doing and what considerations we must all make if we are thinking about getting in a relationship and how to make decisions within the relationship. Before he comes up, let me say hello to some people. Hey, RM, thank you so much for being here. One of my wonderful moderators. I see you. Bernard, Facts and the Uncomfortable Truth with Bernard S. Check out his channel, y'all. He's also a Patreon member. I appreciate you being here. Always so supportive. Thank you, Bernard. Von Bryant in the building says, greetings, peace, joy, and prosperity. We appreciate it, brother. I had a long day at work. Was just getting in. I was like, Uncle Stu, we going in a little bit late. But he was like, all right, no problem, Stu. Thank you for that grace, Uncle Stu. He's also in the chat. Salute to the chat. He says, welcome. His other half, Brown Eyes, says, good evening. Nice to have you, Brown Eyes. Thank you for your technical help just now. Appreciate you and love that you're here and supporting. Hey, Sunbreeze, nice to see you. All love. Says Andrew Walker, big up yourself, NYC in the building. I'm a Yankee. Why you gotta put me out like that? Yeah, I'll take it. I feel like a Yankee no matter what. I think again, it's so funny to hear different people's perspectives on you, right? So I laugh oftentimes. My brother be like, I don't hear no accent. I hear different accents no matter when I talk to you, and that's pretty true. In South Florida, we code switch. So you don't know who you gonna get when you answer the phone. I love it. I want to say what's up to, let me see who else is here. Welcome. Hit the like button. Let me know where you're watching from. Drop a comment in the chat. Sandy W. All right, quick lineup. So we have Uncle Stu tonight, right? What decisions must you confer? What do you have to do in terms of making sure you're doing the right thing to check in with your spouse before making a big decision? Saturday, Gray Pill podcast. I can't wait. We're going to be discussing if pretty privilege is real. Gray Pill chose the topic, wants to know and wants to discuss more about pretty privilege. Monday, I have a man who is from South Florida. He is putting on a staging of a Shakespeare play with an all-black cast. Darius Daughtry will be here Monday talking Black Shakespeare. Can't wait. And Sandy W. Sandy B. Law. I got them mixed up, my people. Sandy B. Law will be here Tuesday. We're going to discuss with my lady lawyer counterpart, Chadwick Boseman's estate. I don't know if you caught that. Chadwick Boseman, the late Chadwick Boseman, his estate was just settled, and what happened and why. So she is an estates and trust attorney, and we're going to talk Chadwick Boseman. So that's Tuesday. We got some good shows coming up. But most importantly, for those of you who enjoy Sandy W, big up yourself. I was thinking Sandy B. Law, but I'm still happy to see you, sis. Thank you very much. She'll also be coming through, I'm sure. Andre Terry in the building. West Philly, he says. But no, I saw the Sandy and I jumped right to it. But yeah, we have some great shows. So if you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. Hit the like button and the notification bell. That will help you stay on top of when we're live. But yes, coming up tonight, we have a great topic. Are y'all ready? All right, so here's the first scenario, and Uncle Stu will come up and hopefully address it, introduce himself, and then address it. But this is what my friend girl asked me. She wrote, everybody, this is a real group chat. Y'all know us. I guess guys have group chats too. Don't guys have group, Uncle Stu? Do guys have group chats too? Ladies have a bunch of group chats, right? I have a different friend circles. I have family and cousin circles. So this was in the group chat, right? So my friend writes, okay, this is a serious question. I'm biased, so I want other people's opinions verbatim. Do you think you should have to consult with your partner or spouse for healthcare decisions? She writes, not elective things, and this is what I was like, what you mean? Not elective things like lipo or veneers. So I'm like, you don't have to consult your spouse on the lipo? When they do that? Okay. So she was thinking those are excluded, not elective things like lipo or veneers. Okay, her opinion. These are, and I'm talking about needed healthcare decisions, things you need for your health, right? She says, would you consult with your partner for approval / permission or / an opinion? Would you consult with your partner for approval? And this is, like I said, a healthcare provider. It happens to be a dentist. And she says, and the second part is there a certain amount of money you can spend without consulting with your spouse? I found that very interesting. I don't know what the arrangement would be. I started thinking about what would I want as far as my own, if you will, freedom. But of course, there's another part of a relationship called accountability. So I was thinking to myself, what would I say as a spending amount where I would expect my husband to run it by me? So she says, so I said, of course, by my legal mind, I'm not sure I understand the question. What do you mean by necessity? For example, that you would not want to express or share with your partner first. Because I'm like, if it's a necessity, that's your man, that's your girl. You would want to express it. So she says, so this was an example that she had. Let's say, for example, you have a broken tooth that needs to be extracted, taken out, right? You have a pain and an infection. You also need to replace that tooth. You want to take care of it because it's affecting literally pain day to day. I give you two options. That one is one that's a barter option, obviously better option, I think, obviously more pricey, and the alternative. But no matter what, you need to get the tooth extracted. You schedule an appointment to get the work done. In this scenario, I'm telling you that money, for example, is not, this is a healthcare decision, is not a financial strain. It's not a point of contention. So it doesn't matter how much money it is. Now listen to what happens to this lady. You go home that night. So she makes an appointment. She has to get an extraction. Her tooth is infected. She has two options. One is to just take it out and leave it. One is to take it out and replace that tooth with like a veneer. So she has the appointment. The woman has an appointment, goes home that night, and then tells her partner. Your partner says, in this case, her partner said, no, you cannot have the replacement. Just to take the tooth out, and you don't need to do anything else. That's what her partner told her. She says, asking your partner for their opinion, simply informing your partner of what they plan to do, or asking for permission in the sense that they don't think it's a good idea. And do you listen? So she says, again, money is no determining factor. So I said, okay, I see the distinction. So you could have gotten it fixed, but for more money. And he said, no, just take it out for less money. But she said, no money is involved here. So she said, no matter what, the tooth is coming out. She wants to replace it. He says, no, so she doesn't. And I said, this is my question as the attorney. Is it in the back of the mouth, or where's that terrible? She says, this is actually pretty common. Also occurs in older patients where children don't replace their parents' teeth and swear the old person is about to die and they don't want to do any work, but it will affect the older person and how they eat. And I thought to myself, geez, I can't imagine a scenario where something as essential to me as a tooth would be something that my partner would say no to. But if they did, especially from a woman's perspective, Uncle Stu, we're going to have to unpack some of these scenarios, but I wanted to throw that out there because it gave me food for thought, which is how I came up with tonight's topic. When must you confer or consult with your spouse? I.e., when do you need to get their permission before making a decision. And I know I have just the right man for the job. Without further ado, y'all help me welcome again to the Suzette Speaks Show. But first time as my exclusive guest, let's welcome none other than Uncle Stu, the old man on the block. Good evening, Uncle.
Salute
How
to the
you
chat and the
doing?
panel. I am doing well,
I'm
doing
excited.
well. I
Thank you
kept
so
this camera
much.
thing because you said, you wanted everybody to see my entire background.
Yes, I love the camera angle. Show them the other one, just so they know. Show them the other one.
Show
Uncle
the other
Stu got
one.
technology, y'all. I just want y'all to see we YouTubers, who be investing and stepping it up, what it looks like. Yeah. Oh, okay. Uncle Stu could give us two camera angles. I like the other one,
Yeah, I got a
personally.
third one, but Brown
Oh,
Eyes would
okay.
kill me because it shows her side of the office, and I'm always like taking stuff
No,
from
don't
my
put her off.
side.
Brown eyes don't want it. Don't do it. But I
So that's
love
my
it.
fault. I'll admit. I'm the one that'll take
Ah.
stuff and put it over there.
No need to expose what does not need to be exposed. Here we go. So that's perfect. Talk about making decisions.
Right.
Before we get into some of the heavy lifting tonight, Uncle Stu, for those who may be watching you for the first time, there we go. Would you please introduce yourself for the people?
Sure. This is Uncle Stu, the old man on the block. And I definitely have a YouTube channel. My channel is basically showing women good men while teaching women how to love the man they're with. I also get into the deep social issues of today, the deep social issues that we need to talk about. I try to come more from the academia educational side so that we can have a better, well-rounded conversation when it comes to everyday life and everyday decision making. And that's me.
I love it, Uncle Stu. So I know, especially nowadays, when there are a lot of people that are getting into relationships who
Mhm.
don't necessarily have healthy role models and mentors. I
Right.
think this would be a very helpful conversation for lots of folks who want to be, what should I say, accountable partners, loving partners, supporting partners. And I think sometimes it seems easier than it is because
It's
life
work.
is complex, life is messy, life will have you feeling like I don't think that person love me no more. I don't want to talk to them no more. And but we have to have, good communication skills, A.
Mhm.
And I think, it's easy to say, just think about the other person as if it were yourself. It's easy to say that,
Mhm.
but it's hard to do. What I realize, it's really hard sometimes, put the other person first, and then put your kids first, and then put the family unit first, and that kind of thing. Some people find that more challenging because scenarios like the one I've shared
Mhm.
are not cutting dry, not black and white. They are often gray. And so when I ask the question, and just pose again one example, and then we can go on to others, but one
Mhm. Mhm.
example about, I was just like, how could a man, not just any man, your husband, tell you, if something is medically um, significant, such as, getting a new tooth, or, replacing something as I don't even think this is I don't think teeth are elective. That's how I look at it. I'm like, teeth are essential.
Well,
But
I,
what are
I
your
heard
thoughts on that specific scenario I just shared?
I wish she was here.
Mm,
Um, I think my young people would call cap on that situation.
really?
That yes. And I'm going to tell you why. Because first of all, I need to take a deep dive and ask why would he even deny that.
Right.
So this is a woman that already set up a scenario of what I call intellectual sexism. And
Mm,
what I call intellectual sexism is the fact that you're setting up a scenario without really giving any context to that scenario. I don't know any man, and I'm that's why I gotta call it cap. That will sit there and say, "Oh, you broke your tooth that I can see, and I don't want you to go get it fixed. I want you to walk around with a missing tooth, and there's no money involved. Come on, that's
well, I definitely
I
could go
wish she
into,
was
and I
there
asked
because
some more questions.
yeah, I need a deep dive. I
No,
told you
that's fine. No, that's fine.
um,
I hear you. But
yeah,
it does happen, Uncle Stu, whether you believe this specific scenario or not. And I happen to, and I asked several other questions because we were very much like me and the people in the group were like, what? Same kind of
yeah.
feeling.
But now there
Um,
is other scenarios where I can see that happening. So that we
Yeah,
can
and they are
definitely take a
extreme
deep
and
dive
they're,
into that.
people with different personalities and
Right.
other defects, and I understand what you're saying. You're saying a
Yeah.
healthy, loving person would never do something
Right.
like that. But I don't think we necessarily live in a world where we always get that well-adjusted, healthy approach. But I think that actually is a good way to segue into just kind of talking about,
Hmm.
from your perspective,
Right.
when people are healthy, how we approach this subject matter, because I think that does highlight that difference. Because sometimes I think when people bring, the word is not baggage, but whether it's, I hate to say childhood baggage or their family dynamic baggage, if they didn't have healthy examples, whether it's life stress and where money is an issue,
Hmm.
and you have scenarios, because like marriages are not always healthy and just happy and everybody's on the yellow brick road. Oftentimes there are these stressors,
Hmm.
and whether they come from the inside of each other, inside
Hmm.
internally, right, you against
Right.
yourself, or whether they're from external pressures, like I say, finances being the number one,
Right.
or just your their situation, housing is up, costs of things, and just your ability to relate to people in terms of your personality. People have personality defects too. So we're
Right.
going to approach tonight from people who have done the work to be at least somewhat, no one is
Right.
perfect,
Right.
but somewhat, and I've put in quotation marks, healthy in terms of
Hmm.
their understanding of an uplifting, supportive, kind, yet courageous, accountable relationship dynamic. I think that's good
That's
to
excellent.
outline. I agree with you, because there was a lot more in this man's life,
Right.
where he had lost teeth and never replaced it.
Got you.
And so I was like, oh, okay. So he want to walk around with no teeth in his mouth, and now he want his girl to walk. I was like, first of all, okay, I get it. You should have started with, and I see where you were going. You're like, ain't nobody living like that. But if you married to somebody who don't care about his teeth,
Right.
and he's rocking around crazy, and you want to replace yours, and he tells you no, it is quite feasible or
Right.
possible. Plausible is a better word.
Okay.
That,
Now
um,
that makes a little bit of
yeah,
sense.
no,
Yeah.
there's a lot in between. I didn't want to like, do a full story time. I'd rather just talk to you about real
Right.
life. But yes, you're right. There were definitely a lot more facts that came out as we asked, and I was like, that ain't right, that ain't right, that ain't right. So we're not thinking that men are just mean and just doing things for being mean's
Right.
sake. That was not, and I know her.
Right.
That was not the point of her story. But it was shocking to many of us in the chat that we were like, what the heck? People have
Right.
to live in some oppression, Uncle Stu. People living with some people that they married to, and it's literally oppressive.
Right.
So we're not going from that point of view.
Right.
Let's pull back and let's make sure we're trying to focus on when other people are listening to this, on scenarios where you have done the work, hopefully,
Hmm.
like I said, to support and love and give more than you get, and show grace for and pay attention to, that significant other. So thank you for setting that table. But when I give you the topic, Uncle Stu, where did your mind go initially?
I told Brana she couldn't go to sleep early because after I give all these answers, I'm quite
Uh-oh.
sure, you know, y'all going to want verification. I know how,
Uh-oh.
you sisters are, y'all want to see the face of the woman behind the man, on the side of the man. I know how the game works. So I got it. I got it,
So she's
you
staying
know.
for corroboration. We got
Right. She got to
it.
hang out for collab. But I wanna set the premise this way. Earlier, and make sure I quoted you correctly. You talked about that sharing of the second person.
Mhm.
I think first of all, it needs to start with the first person. It should be God, then you.
Mm.
And the first thing that everybody needs to ask themselves, just as I had to ask myself as an individual, is, have I unapologetically accepted my past?
Mm.
And what that looks like when I say unapologetically, it means, Have I looked in the mirror at me, accepted things in my past, and at the same time take responsibility for
Mm-hmm.
every decision I have created? And in that responsibility, it means at the time that things happen, have I been willing to accept that I made those choices in spite of the outcome? Now, what do I mean? Certain choices we made at a certain time of our life may have been right based on the information we had, although the outcomes may have not been what we're looking for or what it may have been perceived. But at the time, it was right. Have I accepted accountability for the choices I made, the people I've been with, the places that I have gone? Most of us has not done what I call the deep dive accountability perspective. That means that I take ownership. There's a book that my mentor has us reading, and it's called Taking Extreme Ownership. And a
Mm.
lot of people have not been willing to take extreme ownership of their past. Let me give you an example. When I was in the dating world,
Uh-oh, Uncle Stu used to be in the streets, y'all. Uh-oh. Okay, let me listen up. Ears perked up. Okay.
but when I was in the dating world, I would ask a woman, why are you single? And then the next question is, so tell me about the relationships in which you had. Now, the moment a woman says to me within the first 5 minutes, I've been in 3 relationships and every man cheated, this tells me she never took accountability for who
Ooh.
she really is.
Mm.
Because that means there's something wrong. There's something you're deciding wrong. There's a decision you're making on a habitual basis. She also just let me know she takes no accountability for nothing in her life. An unaccountable woman is a woman that cannot manage herself. If you're not fit to manage yourself, you're not fit to manage anything that I produce. See, so if you're irresponsible in your social life, you're going to be irresponsible with me. If you're irresponsible in your financial life, you're going to be irresponsible with me. So if you're irresponsible with the life you are creating, if you're irresponsible with the money you make, then you're going to multiply that irresponsibility with my money and with my life.
Mm.
So the first love must be the love of self. How much do you really love you? Because how you love you is how I know how to love you.
Mm. Let me ask you this, Uncle Stu. I'm gonna back you
Sure.
up just a little bit. I think you made an important point on the part where you were talking about forgiveness of your own individual past.
Mm-hmm.
Loving someone is very difficult when you were still dealing with issues of your past and things that you have not resolved, whether
Mm-hmm.
it's how your parents raised you, who did whatever to you, how you felt
Mm-hmm.
about being, an outcast or
Mm-hmm.
never graduating or whatever the case is. Oftentimes I find, or getting pregnant young. Oh my gosh,
Mm-hmm.
I've met people that
Mm-hmm.
age and stage of their lives, whatever it
Mm-hmm.
was that was traumatic, haunts them.
Right.
And they bring it to relationships. And if your partner does not understand it, they don't know how to deal with it when it manifests. And I think, I want to ask you, Uncle Stu, how best people can start to heal from their past so when they meet that special someone, it is not their past that is in the relationship. It is not ruling their thought life. It is not ruling their decision life. How would you recommend if somebody's watching and saying, okay, that's easy to say, you know, come to peace or make peace with your past? Can you give an example? Maybe something that happened to you or
Mm-hmm.
someone you mentored, or
Sure.
how
Absolutely.
you was able to heal from that so you could really, really love brown eyes or who, and,
Yeah.
and, and,
No.
and step forward into
No.
that.
You're perfectly right. First of all, this is not an overnight process. This is not an event. It is a process. It is something that takes its time. It is something that you have to constantly work at. So if I use one example, because there's numerous of them, I was once divorced. I had to analyze my divorce. I had to analyze the reason why I got married. I had to learn that I got married for the wrong reason. Now, in spite of everything that happened in the marriage, I left that part and really took a deep dive into, did I get married for the right reason? And the meaning behind that is not the right person, the right reason. And when I accepted the fact that at the time I got married, it was for the wrong reason, not that I say I caused the outcome, but I can at least admit my part. I should not have married the woman I married because I, as a man, wasn't in my right place financially. I wasn't in my right place socially. I did it for selfish reasons. And therefore, that selfishness is also what I produced within the marriage. Now, when I say selfishness, let me expand. I married my oldest daughter's mother. And at the time, I was already a single parent with my daughter, my youngest daughter. And I should have been just played the plain single parent role and did whatever I had to do to have relationship with my oldest daughter. But I thought it fit that I marry her mother. And that was the wrong reason. I married out of the wrong, mindset. I also had to come to terms with the fact that being a military vet, that there was some other issues that I didn't realize I was dealing with, and I had to go get those issues dealt with. I had to deal with the fact that a lot of people don't understand or really ever can comprehend. I came from a very well-to-do family. And when you're trying to be a part of a group or a culture that doesn't accept you because you came from a level of economic status, you try to submerge into a lower economic class, and that can psychologically mess you up when you're rejected by the very people that looks like you. So I had to deal with those issues. I had to deal with all of that long before Brown Eyes was ever able to come into my presence. Then I had to, after working on me, I had to love the most powerful, most beautiful word ever written in the English language. No.
Ah.
And the reason I had to learn that word no is because it allowed me in my development to understand the difference between what I was able to put in that was going to reproduce success and what I put in that was not producing success. So before Brown Eyes came in, there was a track record now of me being successful. There was a track record of me being able to pay bills on time. There was a track record of me being able to produce wealth. There was a track record of me being able to manage wealth. There's a track record that I was able to produce. And I knew that any woman that came into my life, if she was not on the same track as I was, she was going to take me off track. So I had to recognize the power of no. That meant I was comfortable saying no to many women that I could have been laid down with. No, I don't want to lay down with a woman that can't manage money. No, I don't want to lay down with a woman that does not have her social life together. No, I don't want to help you pay your debt when it took me a struggle to get out of my debt. So no, I have a standard. The Bible tells me, raise up the standard. See, a lot of people got this twisted, and I don't really want to preach, but a lot of people got this twisted. A lot of preachers say, well, in the very beginning, when Eve ate the fruit, sin was not in the earth. It wasn't until Adam ate the fruit that sin came in. But everybody forgets that I'm a theologian, so I take a deeper dive. Sin was completed when Adam ate the fruit. What does that completion mean? Well, if you're a woman that is of chaos and I join your chaos, then guess what? We got a house of chaos. If I join your debt, then we got a completed house of debt. So if I join the house of confusion, what is going to be married and produced? Confusion. So many times we usually bond with the very thing that's in us. If we're confused, we bond with confusion.
My goodness.
And
Ooh.
so a lot of times we have confusion in bonding. So what I like to teach young men, and what I teach old men, and what I teach any man that's at the sound of my voice, let's get to work. Become the man that can be unconditionally unapologetic, meaning I'm going to take the deep dive. I'm going to look at all the errors of my ways, purge myself from those errors, learn from those errors, learn from those broken parts. Because one thing you learn in martial arts, the more times that your finger become broken, the stronger and stronger it gets. So now, because of the brokenness, you become stronger. And that is when you know how to vet a woman. Why? Because once you have developed up to a certain point, the purer you get, the purer you'll be able to see. So when brown
Uncle
eyes came
Stu,
into
hold
my
on, let me
life,
pause. This is so good. Uncle Stu, I'm here. I was like, oh wait, you're hosting. Good evening, everybody. A lot of folks have joined us. I want to welcome you to the Suzette Speaks Show. I am here with a gem in YouTube. I wanted to read a comment that someone was giving you a high compliment. I think it was narratives and dialogue. Yes, welcome. Does Uncle Stu be dropping knowledge? I remember just being on TLA with him and seeing him come up in these YouTube streets. Now he's a hot topic, hot mention. It says,
thank you, sir.
Quafinino, thank you so much.
Thank
So
you.
much love in the chat for Uncle Stu. They like, Uncle
Thank you.
Stu, do it. Y'all see his channel. Thank you, RM, for dropping it in the chat. I need to go back and add it to the description. I'm not going to lie. But it's in the chat.
Look, I do the same thing at
Yeah, I'd
times.
be like, I just need to get the stream up. But y'all support him. He has a lot of knowledge. Hey, Mona D, how you doing? Hey, the intentional millionaire. Bernard, I saw you earlier. Who else did I forget? Andrew, I said I spoke. I just want to see Vaughn. I just want to say hello, Andre, Terry, to my people. Oh, glad to have you. Glad to see you. Thank you, Brown Eyes. I appreciate you again for being here, and all the rest of you guys who are watching live or on replay. We're hoping this helps you because no, the topic of discussion has not changed because Uncle Stu, starting from a place of, the understanding of self-worth, knowledge of self in general, and love of self through the lens of the love of the Father, through the deity, the God in
Right.
you. So making sure that if you're not, aligned within one's own self and at peace with your past, that's what he was getting at, Miss Globe Girl. I know you jumped in the
Right.
middle, so she probably just got on, but he was talking about making peace within his own past. So I had asked him, he was like, before you jump into anything, and I think this is going to help us get to the conversation on when to consult your spouse. Apparently, and this is, I think, what a key takeaway already is, we have to work on ourselves
That's right.
and our understanding of self in order to love another person. So if we are not in balance, in a place of peace with mistakes we've made, which is what I asked him. I asked him, like, what kind of mistakes have you made so that you could, come up and be in a healthy mindset relationship? That's what we were talking about tonight, because a lot of people are kind of hooked up with or locked up and married to somebody who has not done the work that we're talking about right now. That's why the decisions are making you, knock heads, because people come to a relationship with different experiences, different mindsets, and some of us have not worked on coming to peace with that past and doing the healing inside of ourselves first, because nobody really designed to, plug those holes, make you feel whole, make you feel better, make you happy. It
Right.
doesn't work that way. It often has to start with you doing the work within yourself. So that's why we got on to that topic, Miss Gold Girl.
Yeah.
You're like, what are we talking about over here? Go ahead, Uncle Steve.
And let me add this, because I think this is a critical and a very missing element. Again, I'll challenge any pastor, because I don't mind challenging these wannabes, because I also have a degree in theology. We have to recognize that no matter where you come from, you can value yourself to the 1,000 degree. But is what are you really valued at in whatever economic social marketplace. I think that the church has done a disservice by telling people that when Jesus, if you believe in the Christ,
Right.
that when Jesus forgives your sin is washed away. Well, that's partly true. Yes, your sin is washed away, the blood of the Lamb, in order to go to heaven. But there's still a consequence for the things you have done. For example, Abraham committed a sin, believe it or not. And because of that, what happened? Now we got a war going on between the Christians and the Muslims. You got to recognize that for every action, there is an opposite reaction. What we've been blessed by is that if we think about all the things we have done, we have the grace that we have not suffered the consequences behind every single action and thought that we have committed. But it doesn't mean that there's not a consequence. So, for example, if I have a child out of wedlock and I am raising my child, there's a certain things that I can't do. I can't go to the club. I can't really just date anybody I want to date. I can't just marry anybody I want to marry, all because I have a child, because that is not a negative or a positive. It's just a consequence of actions. Therefore, I must understand that in a certain level, on a certain sociological level, there's a certain value that I have. There's a certain way that I have to move. And there are certain people that's not going to accept it. So, for example, as a single father, maybe a woman isn't going to accept me. I have to accept that not as a form of rejection, but just as a quantitative part of life. Because it's not always about me, it's about the other individual. So, for example, I know what my height is, I know what my weight is, I know what my status is. I'm not going to be appealing to many women. So why am I going to go after something I know I can never achieve? That has nothing to do with low self-esteem. That has a lot to do with reality of life. If I don't make a certain amount of money, if I'm not doing certain things, I'm not going to be in certain social classes. One of the misnomers, and is being preached throughout the 90s, and is probably still being preached. You can Google it to this day. When I was on these little date naps, I would get these Christian women and say, I'm looking for my Boaz. I'm looking for my Boaz. But my question to the women who believe they're looking for their Boaz is, where's your Naomi? Because in order to meet a Boaz, you had to have a Naomi. But the problem was, everybody don't understand. What type of work did this woman do? She worked in the vineyard. She was working at the lowest form. You got women that don't even want to work. You have to understand that your value is not in your finances. Your value is in the work that you have done internally. Don't you know a man would leave you in a big old house with 2 cars and all your material things and will walk his behind down to the projects and get a woman that knows how to love him right? I hope I get some brothers up here to testify.
You said a lot there, sir. Go ahead. Go ahead.
But what I'm saying to you, Suzette, is when we're not willing to do the work, and the work is daily. It's not something you do today and you're done by tomorrow. It's something you do daily. Because let me tell you what happens in relationship. You will be tested to see if you've passed the work you've done. The most beautiful thing I was able to do was go to my father's funeral and see my youngest daughter's mother and take a picture with her, not with her, but her and my daughter.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel a thing.
Okay.
That's when you know you've done the work.
So I think what I'm hearing, and the common theme I'm hearing is like, and guys, we were getting into the crux of tonight. But the points that Uncle Stu is making are very, very relevant, because in order to have people that are compatible on every level, before we get to some of these decisions, we have to know ourselves. We have to
Mhm.
have done our own self-healing.
Mhm.
We have to love ourselves enough to forgive ourselves of the past, forgive our people who hurt us, and prepare so that
Mhm.
we're able to open up and clear-mindedly approach this very, very complex institution called marriage. It's become so much more complex. The other part I hear you saying, Uncle Stu, and correct me if I'm wrong, is to
Mhm.
know your own. I don't know if the word is
I
market
don't like using word value. Know your own self-worth,
self
but
worth.
self-worth. Now,
Mm,
a lot of times that word, whether you use the word value,
hmm.
self-worth, it can really be taken out of the context. Self-worth, to put it in the simplest form, self-worth is what you have developed yourself up to. So if you knew that you developed, I'm gonna use finances. If you just came out of $5,000 worth of debt and you knew what it took to get out of $5,000 worth of debt, then you should also know what it's going to take to keep you out of debt. So your self-worth is, I don't want to go back into $5,000 worth of debt. Therefore, I have now set a premise around me that says, not only do I not want to go back into $5,000 worth of debt, but I don't want to be with anybody that's going to also cause me to go into $5,000 worth of debt. Now, there's a difference between I don't want to be with someone that's going to cause me to go into $5,000 of debt, or and sitting up there talking about I want to be in a relationship, but I don't trust. I have trust issues. Girl, if you got trust issues, don't even get off them dating apps,
Hmm.
because the one thing, and Brown Eyes, she's in the chat, she'll tell you, I have developed myself to the point where, as I've told her, and this wasn't an argument, y'all, so don't take my words out of context. If she walked out of my life, she will tell you two things. One, I have told her, if you walk out of my life, I'm going to be okay. Why can I say that with such conviction? Because I've developed myself to the point where Brown Eyes is my addition. And when I say addition, it means what I already am, she's the glow of that. So what I bring to the table, she's the multiplier of that. What that means is that I don't have a need for her financial resources, but her financial resources multiplies my vision.
All right, now, Uncle Stu, I understand. So she adds on to you, and but I think in the point that you were making previously, it was definitely understand your value as it relates to the type of person you're dating or the person that you want in your life, et cetera, et cetera. I think people need to do some soul searching around that. But I want to fast forward a little bit before I drop this link to understand in the dynamic that you have described. You have two well-adjusted, self-actualized sounding people who meet in a stage of life of maturity, of selfless love, of desire to build together.
Mhm.
And I still know, even with the most self-actualized, well-intentioned, open-hearted, want what's best for you almost more than I want what's best for myself people,
Mhm.
there are going to be disagreements in one's lives.
Mhm.
And in one's life. And the idea that I want you to give me a scenario that either you've seen or you have been in where there was a disagreement between two very loving. Now we got to the stage now that you can't even get to this before you do what Uncle Stu just talked about. And I think it's great that you have kind of laid that out there. You
Mhm.
got to work on you, and it's just not a, catchphrase. It's
Mhm.
deep and it takes
Mhm.
years, as he's talked about. So we are presupposing in this conversation that you've done that work. You
Mhm.
have already been to therapy. You have already been to or your own individual counseling, not after you got married and now you're trying to figure out what's wrong with you.
Right.
We are talking about people who have spent the time
Right.
self evaluating, creating a
Mhm.
deeper self awareness so they know their own triggers. They know why they feel certain, type of ways
Right.
by other people's reactions and still won't react to them, right? We have
Exactly.
a certain type of growth, of self growth and awareness. So that's why this all ties in, y'all, so that you can even get to what I'm about to ask Uncle Stu. So, Uncle Stu, now you've done some of that work. You've worked on you. You have realized where you made mistakes in the past. You've come to peace with it. You've seen where, dang, I chose this woman wrong. I chose that wrong. I was worried about my own pocket. That's why I didn't have self esteem. I couldn't have been a leader if I was worried about those things, all those other things, right? So
There's
now
one
you
more
get,
part.
go ahead, go ahead,
There's one more part. You
please.
have been on it. The last part, and I'm gonna make this real brief.
Uh huh.
The last part is the love of solitude. And what I mean by the love of solitude, can you be alone and be at peace? A lot of us come into relationship in pieces, but we don't come into relationship in peace. And that solitude of being alone. Brown eyes will tell you, she go to work, so she don't have to deal with my crazy behind. But it's the solitude of peace. In other words, can you sit in your home and laugh and ain't nobody around?
Well,
Can you can you do the deep dive where nobody is home for a whole week and you're at peace? And I'm not talking about you in relationship and missing your spouse. In the time where before the spouse get here, before the girlfriend get here, before the boyfriend get here, can you be 1 week in the total solitude of peace? And I'm going to tell you something, Suzette. If everybody really got honest, more people got together out of loneliness than out of peace.
woo, Uncle Stu, come on now. You're stepping on the toes. It's okay. Because it's a good warning. Even if this is your life and you've lived that and now you know
Mhm.
that, don't be ashamed. I
No.
think it's helpful when other people can hear, oh boy, maybe I will avoid, just being with someone because I don't like being by myself. Wow.
Yeah.
Just
Why do
being
you
with
think?
someone because it hurts and feels scary to be by myself. I hear that. I hear that loud and clear.
If I'll tell you how desperate loneliness is. I've met too many women with master's degrees and bachelor's degrees. They did not work on themselves, but they was willing to sell everything they had just to have a man lay next to them. Didn't matter the quality of the man or anything. I know dudes that would lay down with any kind of a woman just to be not feeling alone. But I tell you, if you're willing to do the work and learn how to live alone in total peace, when that spouse gets there, oh my God, you're going to be in a whole different world.
That's a word. That's a really good word. So, mastering being alone and not being afraid to be alone, such
Hmm.
that we don't meet someone and just want to be with him or her. So, as to fulfill this loneliness space. I
Hmm.
hear you. And a lot of people are lonely. It is a difficult world.
Hmm.
Some people don't have a lot of family. I happen to have a good amount of family, but I try not to assume everybody has that, and it provides a certain amount of comfort, sometimes too much comfort. Um, but I hear you, Uncle Stu. That's a really great point. And thank you for supporting the stream. I saw a super chat. Thank you so much. It was TJ, Mosaic with TJ Randolph for the
Yeah, my
beautiful.
older sister about 2 months.
Yes. Thank you for coming over here and showing some love, support in the stream. If you like the content, we appreciate all your support just by watching, liking, commenting, and of course, sharing. And you can go back after the stream is over if you enjoyed it and just leave a comment below the stream. It'll help other people see it. But big up my sis in this space, Mosaic with TJ Randolph. Thank you so much for showing some love tonight. And I see brown eyes in the comments. Yes, for real, for real. That's Uncle Stu's other half, y'all. If you just so he can't tell no stories, as they say. It's gonna be all facts tonight. I've dropped the link, but I just wanted, before I bring up anybody for open comments in the next 5 minutes or so, I want to start by asking Uncle Stu if he has experienced ways in which people in a relationship or in his own relationship have had disagreements, and when you don't agree, who gets the last word? And if you can give us a specific scenario, kind of like what I started out with.
Hmm.
If there are things in, I can't believe any one or two decisions that there was a coming to loggerheads or
Yeah.
where you feel uncomfortable because you gotten to speak with the person. I just talked about that last night on my Patreon. Shout out to
Yeah.
everybody on my Patreon. There was a good friend where I felt so bad making a decision, but I had to. And what if the other person doesn't agree? What happens? So can you give us a scenario where you've lived that with your spouse?
Yeah. Just this past week, I am pro-life and Brown Eyes is pro-choice. So we've had to have that real heart-to-heart, tough
Mm.
conversation. Um, and then it is because in her pro-life decision, she had great examples. She had her feelings, her deep convictions, involving that. I had my feelings and I had my deep convictions. Neither one of us changed sides. So
I'll
we're
be
we're
more of alignment in terms of a actual like home purchase, car purchase. I think disagreements. I have a cousin who is super liberal, and I don't know how their marriage works, but her husband is super Republican, super
and
conservative,
there's a lot that's that way.
and they work. And I'd be like, bruh. So I don't mean just in terms of politics. I mean in terms of like a decision you've had to make where it was almost like consulting the person must have occurred for a
Got you.
discussion to come about, and then if there wasn't full buy-in at the beginning, what happened? That's what I mean.
I would say at this point, I think we're going more into the deeper dive of finances. Um, Usually I will have a vision, she'll have a vision. We talk about the vision, where we are, where we want to go. Um, and then we set a plan for how to get there. Um, she'll let me know maybe some areas where she's concerned. Um, and then I usually just take the time to meditate and to think about, what her concerns are and exactly what I can do. I would say I'm in a different position than I would say a lot of people.
Hmm.
Um, all because, as I was reflecting, maybe Brown Eyes has to come here and answer that
Yeah, the
question.
link is dropped, y'all. Y'all can come up when you're
And that's
ready.
only because argumentatively, I can't really think of a time since we've been together where we've had an argument, and then I
Y'all
either had,
blessed. Stop it, Uncle Stu.
then I
Stop
had
it.
to just
People not living
override.
like y'all, Uncle Stu. People not living.
Right.
I'm glad to
No,
hear it.
but
Not mad, but
yeah,
I
but
love it. But what
I,
about this comment here that Miss AKA Lady leaves? Whoever is right should be honored. A true leader knows that. So if it's not something I can see, you can't relate necessarily because y'all, Brown Eyes has it here, agree to disagree. So I get that. And I think you guys are also more mature in your walk. So you have understood or kind of like the hard headedness or the, what should I say? People who are, we call it bullheaded
mhm,
when folks, dig in their heels. And I've had even, so for example, I know a guy who is a financial advisor, and he was talking about his son. His
mhm,
son married a lady who wanted to go to California no matter what, right? They went, I think, to the University of Miami or some other private school. Both their parents are pretty well off.
mhm.
Um, but she had this dream of going to Cali and buying a brand new house. So, of course, the dad is a financial advisor. The dad is like, nah, that is like the worst decision for a young married person to do.
Mhm.
Stack paper first, get ready for your child, get ready for
Right.
some of these other things that are going to be thrown probably in your lap, in the next few years. She could not convince this girl otherwise. Like right after the wedding, almost all the money they got from the wedding
Mhm.
and his first job, first bonus, all that was poured into this like McMansion in Cali. Now, the poor dude, financial advisors kind of sharing with me how stressed he is, excuse me, and how like it was like the biggest mistake ever. But
Mhm.
of course, they were newlyweds. They are far removed from where you and Brown Eyes are. And I see you in the back, Brown Eyes. I see you in the back, Vaughn. Thank you. Call in if y'all want to come up and make a comment or two about when you should consult your spouse. But in Miss AKA Lady's comments, who is ever right, it should be honored. Now,
I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna answer
I'm like,
AKA, and she's not gonna like my answer,
okay.
and I'm gonna answer why that
Yeah, but I'm just
situation in
saying, like in that
California.
scenario, to
Yeah,
me, the gentleman was right. But there
exactly,
was no way he could talk old girl, and I was like, "That's a bad sign. Welcome to marriage."
exactly.
Like, what's gonna happen next? And they are still bleeding money. They are still living rich people paycheck to paycheck. Like both of them are like you know, professionals, high professional income earners, and they're struggling. And they could have lived much more modestly, even in Atlanta, and been balling and stacking, right? But technically, if you just looked on a strictly financial basis, not her dream to live in Malibu or wherever the heck they went, it was right for him to tell her, no, boo, we got to plan for a rainy day. We got to plan for children. We got to plan for retirement, even. But so it wasn't honored. So a true leader, I think both people have to be leaders. Miss AKA leaders, what I realized, I was like, well, if he would have stopped, maybe he could have stopped her desire or just went against it. It would have set a tone for their marriage for sure. Like, this is what we're going to do. We're going to do what I want to do. But I don't know if it was easy for him. And maybe the dynamic that existed between them wasn't one where he was like, no, we're not doing that. What are your thoughts about both what I've shared and what Miss AKA Lady has given as a comment here?
Bottom line,
Mm,
you, the man, you're the head, you're the leader, you make the final decision. And I'm
period.
sorry, what I heard, at least from the scenario you just gave, once once she superseded after all he showed and she took leadership role, guess what? The house folded because he no longer can lead that family. Leadership is based on, and this is what I teach men, leadership is your resume of success. You have a successful track record at making right decisions. So when it comes to supplementing or asking, yes, you may consult your wife when it comes to making big financial decisions. You want to consult her if decisions you're making, you want a second thought, a second opinion, a second vision at what you're looking at. You definitely want to consult your wife if you're getting ready to make a decision that's going to rock the household, shake the household, do something that's going to cause that household to have a negative effect. Absolutely. But women are so, women gonna get pissed off, but it's all right because you need to hear this. Too many of y'all want to be the head, and a two-headed snake is a freak. A two-headed household is a freak. A two-headed animal is a freak. And if you stop doing, and now, can I talk to the black women?
Oh, Lord. Go ahead, Uncle Stu. Go ahead. Let me give you the floor.
There is this thing that was done during slavery, and you can go get the book. And the book clearly states that they're going to teach black women to make sure that their black men is treated like animals. And all I'm going to say to you is, I am not an animal. I am a human being. I was created to lead, I was created to protect, and I was created to provide. But what I was not created to be was controlled by anybody outside of my God and me. And so when a woman says to me how I interpret that last statement, well, if both is right, then the leader should be honored. Do you not know that you could be a submissive woman and you're still honored? Do you
Oh,
not
wait a minute. Hold
have
on, Uncle Stu. Let
power?
me just play devil's advocate for just a quick second. So if a
Sure.
woman disagree with what you're doing,
No, listen to the disagreement. I'm not
mm-hmm.
saying disagreement in the
Okay.
sense of if I want to go buy a new Sony camera,
Right. Or a new
okay,
whip, a new car, some big
okay, a
purchase.
new
Yeah.
car. Yeah, I'm going to consult her because that's major finances coming out of the house. I'm
Right.
not just going to up and buy a car.
Mm-hmm.
But if I give you a prime example, because intentional millionaires here,
Yes. And you can
we
come
are
up intentional millionaire. I know he got an
we
opinion on this.
we are getting ready to do certain things with intentional. You know what I'm saying? That is big. Okay, because it's big, she's there. But now there's other things that I do in the background. And because she's seen I had a level of success at doing those things, she's at peace with everything else.
Right.
So when I say that, she will rarely give me something. And if she does, it's usually something I will meditate on or think about.
Uncle, so you might be so mature for this conversation right here, because y'all got it going on over there. Because in my heart, not in a bad way,
It's
because
all
it
right.
sounds like you guys are very yin and yang. If I see Miss AKA Lady say something like, "Whoever is right should, be honored," what if your husband is making a bad decision and you know in your heart it's going to put the family in jeopardy, or it's going to put whatever plans or vision that you guys have laid out, or that even he has laid out, for you? It's
I would
like,
say, bring Brown Eyes up and let her answer
I'm
that
gonna have to, because I
because
because I can see you
I
saying
told her
that,
I am
but
straight.
sometimes your husband is not right.
Okay, let her answer that.
That's what I'm
And
saying. I'm thinking like Uncle Stu, I can never say, and I could just make him make the mistake. And some women do that. Like, all right, he gonna have to learn, and we're gonna have to live in poverty for a little bit until he comes back around. I don't know. Sandy W, I like this comment, and I'm bringing up Brown Eyes and Vaughn. Good evening. Excuse me. Comment says, people are dealing
Greetings.
with family decisions like age, parents, and caregiving, changing of retirement planning. Yeah, because the money ain't going as long as it was,
right.
and things that may not have to do with money, but the engagement. These are things that may not have to do with money, but the engagement. I understand what you're saying. So important decision is like, is your mama gonna live with us? Is, who gets the final
Yeah.
say?
Now
Is it always the
those
husband?
are conversations. Yeah,
Yeah, that's what I'm
those are
saying.
deep
Like, to
dive
say it's
conversations.
always a husband opinion that goes, I don't know if I agree, because I'm like, what if your husband doesn't see it the way you do? But you're saying no matter how he sees it, his word is final. I'm asking Uncle Stu.
I'm saying yes, but you got to understand where I am in my yes.
Okay.
I'm saying yes, but it doesn't mean she doesn't know.
Hmm.
It doesn't mean there's not a conversation. You understand? See, so far from my household, there is a certain way I do run it, and I do run it on that straight line. There are conversations that I have with Brown Eyes. If for things that we're getting ready to plan to do in 3 months and 6 months and 1 year, she knows the plan. As the Bible says, write the vision, make it plain, so they that read it will understand. So as we have the vision written, and as we go, yeah, if something comes up, if there's something that's in the vision that she wants to do, or something comes up, emergency or whatever, then we tweak the vision, but the vision still goes forth.
Mm.
So I'll
Yeah,
let her
I want
do
to hear
the
from Brown Eyes.
yeah,
I
oh,
go.
yeah, look, I'm gonna even turn the camera off so everybody
Yeah,
focus on.
no. We want you.
Okay.
I'm excited that a husband and wife is here, because, like I said, it sounds like you guys are like coasting, like, and that's a beautiful thing. Where the type of communication level. Thank you, the intentional millionaire. He says we have to learn and work at communication, some more than others. Either way, it's part of the relationship. It's a big part, absolutely. Miss AKA Lady says, yeah, you took that wrong. I mean, a true
Okay,
leader wouldn't do the wrong thing just to have the last word. Hmm.
got you.
It
Okay,
takes two
thank you, Miss
reasonable people.
AKA, for
Yes.
clearing that up.
Yes. Thank
Yes,
you,
I
love.
totally agree. I totally agree. And just to let y'all know, because I know y'all saying, yeah, Brown Eyes getting ready to talk, but there is people that know us in real life.
Yeah, no.
So
We
they
believe it. I
actually
believe y'all.
see.
Yeah.
they
Like, it's
they
not a front over here. But that's what I'm
yeah.
saying. You ain't got these type of problems, Uncle Stu. Rockstone says, every bad relationship I had was when her father wasn't in her life. She always wanted to prove in every little thing that her opinion counted, and thus justified her rebellion, like Wendy from the Ozarks. Oh my gosh, that's a crazy character. I don't know if you guys watch that
Yeah,
show, but yeah,
yeah,
so basically just a rebellious
yeah.
spirit. Anything your husband said, you go do like almost the opposite, like behind his back almost, and not confer, consult, ask, nothing. Okay, let me see. Oh, somebody says I agree with Suzette. Uncle Stu and Brown Eyes are like yin and yang. I was like, they got a whole lot of things worked out already, which is great. But there are places where I guess people who are kind of earlier in their marriage or have less experience in marriage have to really work on when it comes to this decision making and figuring out what goes. Let me see. TBE Trucking says, I've been married for 20 years. All big decisions are made together.
Mhm.
Wow. Miss AKA Lady says, I promise I won't jump off a cliff because anyone tells me to. Again, reasonable people, I believe it. Like, I seen people say, like, you want to move to Alaska? And I'm like, God didn't
Right,
told me
right,
that. Like,
right.
what you talking about? Like, but there are women that will stand up tomorrow and be like, oh, my husband said go to Alaska. TV trucking adds part of being a leader is the ability to listen. I think reasonableness is another big characteristic, especially for any spouse. They got to be reasonable. They got to be open minded and be open to, being swayed if their opinion is wrong. Is the people that I find that are like sticks in the mud who are really firm and I said it and don't change my mind. You're not gonna change my mind. That's what we're gonna do. I saw a scenario today online too that I can bring up. But first, let me get my folks involved in here on the screen. Vaughn, how are you? And then I'm gonna go to Brown Eyes second. Go ahead, Vaughn. How are you this evening?
I am blessed. Thank you for having me on, and it's an honor to be on here with you, Suzette. You're
Oh,
doing great
thank you.
things, and Uncle Stu as well. Come on, that's my guy right there.
Good
You
combo,
know,
right?
you know what I'm saying.
I
But
see you itching in the chat. It was like, well, how do we get up there?
yeah,
So, what are your
wow,
thoughts on tonight's
exactly right.
Mhm.
topic?
But I would have to, if I was to add anything to the conversation, I would have to say this. You know, me being an older gentleman of 60, and I've been married for 20 years,
Mm,
and you're not married for 20 years without some give and take.
yes,
Mhm.
And I don't know how many people would be honest about that, but in a marriage there is definitely what you call give and take.
that's right.
There's also some compromising that is involved in marriage. Now a lot of us, we try to run a dictatorship, as my way or the highway, and a lot of those people are single right now today. See what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
I can only speak from my experience of how I was able to have longevity in my relationship.
yeah.
you know there is
Let
a
me ask you a
certain
question, if
Sure,
I may.
sure.
So, for example, I'm trying to think of other scenarios. We're not talking about teeth. We're not talking about
Oh, I can
certain
give you
things.
I can give you
But yeah,
some
I'm
too.
thinking about
Yeah.
like, so I've seen plenty of people. Here's a good one, common one. You and your long-term boyfriend, hopefully to be husband, are chilling. You get a job offer, or he gets a job offer in another state. And there is always, that pressure to me
Mhm,
within our culture,
mhm.
women conforming. Although I know men who have moved with the woman, I know several dudes who have moved with the
Yeah,
woman to help her start
that's
her
true.
career. So I'm
Mhm.
like, those decisions are what I was thinking about when I thought of this topic, because there are going to be some major. I'm not talking about even household finance related, but I guess this is, related to how much money you're going to make, and but the living situation and the parent situation and things like those are major decisions that pop up, and you're almost, you can definitely start out at two different opposite sides of the fence. Like, you're not going to necessarily be like, oh, that's reasonable, babe, thank you. You want to take your job, he wants to take his job. Why can't you see it? You love me, just come with me, that kind of thing. What do you do when there are those? And I hear compromise, but give me an example, either from what I've shared or something you've lived on.
Okay, I want to
Yeah.
before
Oh, okay.
Vaughn, Mr.
Go
Vaughn
ahead.
answers that question. I got to be totally honest.
Yes.
And me and Vaughn have said this, and Brown Eyes know I say this on a daily basis.
Yeah.
The woman Brown Eyes is, and the wife that Vaughn has. Um, my 20, 30 somethings don't have those type of women today. And that's
Mm,
something that has to be
Exactly.
recognized.
mm,
Exactly.
And I'm going to be the first to step up and say, it would be very difficult for me to teach 20-year-old girls and 30-year-old girls, and again, I can boldly say, because I'm a single father of girls. It'll be very hard for me to teach them, because they're being taught something totally different. They're being taught not to. They don't
so
want to
you're
be
saying they
brown eyes.
wouldn't compromise?
No, they're not brown eyes. Brown eyes will analyze those things. If I said, if and she's here, if I said, babe, we got a better financial opportunity in South Carolina, and the job that you have here, we can float that down there, and here's the connections, and make that path, and we can live 2 times better there than we can here. We out. But You can't tell no 20-year-old that. And I recognize that the young men that I talk to today, those ain't the women that they're dealing with that I dealt with. They're not brown eyes.
Well, Uncle Sue, that's a whole nother can of worms.
It is,
Hallelujah.
but I gotta say the truth, and I
Yeah.
have to say it as it is. When
Oh,
I
I know
grew up,
normal women, Uncle Sue. I know normal,
and that's what I've been looking for. But
reasonable.
if you look in my comment section,
Mm-hmm.
I have more women who'll disrespect me as a 54-year-old man than I have a 20-year-old who disrespects me
Hmm.
as a male.
Well,
Brown eyes will tell you that we have went out in the public to restaurants. Let her tell you what a female waitress didn't get a tip yet because she thought I wasn't going to get a girl a tip. How she talked to me, and she's 27. My youngest daughter's 27, right after the passing of KS, versus how the males treat me when I go to those same restaurants.
Uncle Stu, I think that's a bigger subject, and I'm
Yeah,
not
it is. It
dismissing
is.
it. I'm just saying I want to stay focused on what we're here tonight for.
Right.
But that observation, I'll take it as your observation,
Yeah.
100%. I'll take it as your observation. Vaughn, what did you want to add?
Okay, so yeah, so back to this. So basically, I can only speak from my experiences.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And I mean, I know this is it's a very good topic, by the way.
Thank
You know,
you.
where should the give and take come in at? And if we were to be honest, a lot of us in these YouTube spaces, we speak a lot of good, roughed up talk, but our wives are really way separate away from us in different rooms. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? And they don't even hear some of this malarkey that we're trying to spew out here in these spaces.
Oh
You know,
no, when
if
they home, they quiet as a bird.
Yeah, exactly. So if we were to be honest, and if I was to be honest, excuse me, there are definitely some compromises that has to take place. This, and I'm speaking from experience because this is what helped me to have longevity in my relationship. Now, you asked the question about what are some of the things. For instance, there was one time when we wanted to, we were seeking a place to stay, an apartment, and we were in dire straits at the time. See what I'm saying? And so, my man thinking is, hey, we gonna get a place with a roof. I don't care if it has one room or a tiny small kitchen, or you see what I'm saying? Because that's how I was thinking. Let's just get a roof over our head and we can go from there. And so I would go, and me and my wife would go, and we went to one place that was an option, and she said, this is kind of too small. You know what I'm saying? So I said, well, okay. I went to another place, and she said, well, I gave her opportunities. So when it came down to it, she understood that when I found a place and really said that, well, unfortunately, this is it right here. See what I'm saying? Because I tried to, go along with what she wanted, but at the same time, now if our options are getting slim, then I have to be the leader in the relationship. You see what I'm saying? I do absolutely want to consider what you're bringing to the table, because a lot of us, we get caught up in our in these marriages and relationships, and a lot of us men think that it's a dictatorship. You see, I don't really dictate to my wife what to do. You know what I'm saying? Grab the mop, get in the kitchen, mop the floor, do this, shut up, sit down. You see what I'm saying? I have to weigh what she says. And I also have to understand that, see, as God is using me in the relationship, he's going to be using her as well. So I have to be attentive to her ear too. You see what I'm saying? So, it's so many different scenarios, like I'm saying, that where give and take and compromise, and you see what I'm saying, has to be given on both ends of the spectrum. You know, doesn't take away from the fact that I'm a leader at all. Doesn't take, and one thing that I love about my wife is she respects my leadership. She trusts in my decisions, but I don't count her out of all of them, because she has a place in the decision making as well. So
I love it. It takes a strong man to know that, that to be open to know that any challenge is not a challenge to him personally, or lack of trust in him or anything like that, or impugning his decision making ability. It would be more so like, baby, I see this, as you say, recognizing that if you got the right woman, hallelujah, let's start there.
Exactly.
God speaks to both spouses. I don't know how sometimes people say stuff and I'll be like, well, God ain't told me that.
And see, you know what? And we have to be attentive to our wives. God put them in our lives for a purpose. You know, it's just not for us to run the show, but she's to help. She's a helper. She's to
100%.
help. And she's also a spiritual help as well. She's not
We see
just,
things y'all don't see.
you know, and so
Can we
if,
just say it out loud? We
yeah, you
see
can.
things all the
But
time.
but for instance, take the word submissiveness. You know, there's a certain submissiveness that I have to have when it comes to my wife. Now, you know, they'll take my manosphere card away from me
Don't
for
do it,
saying
Ma.
that,
Don't do it.
but I never had one in the first place. So anyway, but if you look up the word submissiveness, it talks to the point of being humble, and it also speaks to being compliant. You see what I'm saying? I have to be compliant in regards to my wife when it comes to my wife. Now, what are some of the compliancy means? That there's some don'ts. There are some definite do nots. And what the do nots is do not put your hand on her. Let's start there. Do not call her out of her name. Let's talk about that type of compliancy, which is related to submissiveness. You see what I'm saying? Do not put her in harm's way.
If you had a man that thinks like this, what are you talking about? He capping MC recovery, wellness, and
Yeah,
relapse.
well,
Talking about some of that.
and so here's the thing. I will get a lot of this in the chat, and people will differ with what I'm saying, but I'm speaking from my experience.
Yeah.
And to the one, these people that are making these comments don't even have a woman, and they're not even married.
Now, see, Yvonne,
Now I'm talking about what helped me maintain
Yeah.
my marriage for 20 years. See, it's not just natural, but it's also a spiritual thing that me and my wife are going through together. We are both being led by God. I am the head of the house. See what I'm saying? God is over me. I am over her. She's over the children. But at the same time, God is over all. So since my wife,
I gotta bring back Uncle Stu. You dropping some gems on the chat is lighting up in response to what you're
I know
saying.
they're gonna get me.
No,
for
it's
that.
good.
Listen, my
like
name is Von
supportive.
Bryant. Don't get the spelling. Don't miscorrect the spelling.
Let me bring back Stu Brown Eyes. I haven't forgot y'all. Vaughn was just on a roll. I love the comments, guys. Keep them coming. I see you guys. Sandy W said that sounds like a wonderful way to be in his marriage, like to understand that I don't know everything, he don't know everything. I have to be open, I have to be trusting, but I hope I have chosen someone I can trust with my emotions, with financial decisions, with how he lives, how he thinks, his disposition and personality. I hear Uncle Stu when it comes to the pregame, understanding before you even step into the arena,
yes, sir,
who you are and what you're dealing with, and what you want, what you need in another person, so that when you see it, you know it.
Well, see, you got to learn how to trust yourself.
Yeah.
See, you got to understand that for me, if I don't trust me, and the decisions I make, then how can I expect Brown Eyes to trust the decisions I make? I told you, I step into anything in any arena with a resume.
Yeah.
See, I always say, show me your results. So if you're not able to show me your results, then you don't have a resume. You don't have nothing you've worked on. I don't surround myself with men that does not have a resume of success in a particular area. Whether you're successful in relationship, you got to be successful in money, even on these YouTube streets. What is your track record of success? So a lot of times I find too many women who are listening to other women who don't even have a successful relationship, but you're expecting to have one. You will become what you follow. And a lot of men, exactly. You have a lot of men who has never had a successful relationship, and then you're listening to men tell you how to operate. See, I tell every man, my platform is not to teach you how to pump and dump. That's easy. There's enough platforms. My job is to teach you how to be in a relationship with your higher being and with yourself. And then if you loving on yourself, you'll know how to vet someone else.
Absolutely. I'm going to have Brown Eyes been waiting patiently come through. The popcorn has
Amen.
been taken
Now
out.
you have to say amen to that. Come on now.
Amen.
I don't know who's in the chat, but you know
Yes,
What's
they're
they're
gonna
all
going
buck up
on,
against
Mr.
enjoying
you.
a
Doug?
lot of hey Doug, nice to see you. Welcome. Having a good time over here. See some new people have joined. Please hit the like button. If you're team replay, hit the like button as well. I love it. Miss AKA lady says he's talking about balance. Love to hear it. I bet his wife is happy. Sandy W says some men think helpmate means doormat. Just as I doormat, just do as I say. I don't think that's the way God intended. That's a thing. Again, if you have not had a healthy example of what male, strong masculine leadership in a household that is heteronormative, what it looks like, oftentimes, again, we get some skewed messaging as to that makes me a man. So that's that, again, that pre-game, that pre-development, that pre-understanding and confidence in oneself. I know how to make money. I know how to, be good at whatever it is I'm trying to be good at. I know my purpose. Those things must be aligned first before you even can step into this arena now to mesh two visions, two lives, and hopefully when you do knock heads, and I'm Brown Eyes, I want to know if y'all really never really knock heads like that, and that's a blessing, because most relationships that I hear about, I'm usually the person listening to all the drama as to how I can help them come to a peaceable, ending in whatever they're dealing with. So Brown Eyes, welcome. How are you this evening? Uncle Stu's other half, y'all in the building.
Hey, Brown Eyes.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes, thank you so much for coming up. It's Brown Eyes' turn, y'all. So Brown Eyes, tell the truth. Y'all don't never disagree on nothing?
I think we honestly have had, believe it or not, one real disagreement. And forgive me, at this point, I can't even really tell you what it was, but we have learned each other in a way where we know when to stop so you don't go too far in pushing buttons and things like that for no reason. Okay. Because that's, I think, when people, if you know your partner, you know what buttons you can push, and you go too far at times. So we know how to not do that, which keeps a healthy balance for us. And we can agree to disagree and leave it at that.
But what happens to the decision? Is it what Uncle Stu says ends up going?
So the decisions end up, we talk about it. We both put our thoughts, ideas, views on the table, and we have to rationally pick them apart and figure out which one is, in the end, which one works best for us. So it's not always about whether it's his words or my words. It's about what part of his and what part of mine we could put together and come up to a decision. But ultimately, he is the head of household. That man
right
is
or
the head of
wrong. Right or
household.
wrong, he's the head.
He's the head of household. And
not saying I disagree, but I want to hear that part of it.
He's the head of household, and he's going to come to a decision that I can be comfortable with because I know he listened to me and he heard me.
Ladies, isn't that a wonderful thing to have?
And with that being said, I can be comfortable in him leading us because I know I was heard. And that's important.
Wow.
That's
that's like I said, if you were in that place where you can trust a man like that, it's a beautiful thing. I think that is like that. It's almost like you swimming in water.
Yeah.
And you never knew how to swim before, and a man or whoever, the coach symbolizing your husband, and you're holding him and holding him and holding him and holding his neck by this water. And then there's that moment of trust that you believe that person got you so much that you can just let go.
Right.
That's where I'm hearing, like, that's what came in my mind visually.
Yes.
Everybody don't have that. Oh my.
Yes, I think that's the perfect description, because our relationship does allow me that breath.
Mm,
And I tell him that all the time.
mm.
But at the same time, we've also discussed the fact that from previous relationships, we've learned to heal. We've learned to work on ourselves individually, and that is what has helped us get to the point where we are now. And that's something I think anybody can do, no matter what age they are. You don't have to be, both of us are in our 50s. So you don't have to be of that age to be of that mindset. You have to, as Uncle Stu said, you have to know yourself before you can put your whole self into a relationship or give of your whole self to your significant other. And that's
Uncle
true
Stu,
regardless as to how old you are.
I
Mhm,
hear you, Uncle Stu, and I
And
hear you, Brown Eyes. I'm just
mhm,
thinking what Uncle Stu say as
being
I
I mean,
think
I've been married before, been
okay.
married before. So it took me to realize my shortcomings in that relationship, and then in any other relationship that I may have had in between that relationship and this one, to know myself, to know my good, my bad, my ugly, and that allows me to bring me to the table. And at the same time, I fully understand what Uncle Sue was saying. If we ever, went our separate ways or anything, I'd be okay. He'd be okay. I'm gonna be okay because I know me. I know my self worth. I know I've learned the lessons that it takes to heal myself to be able to be in a relationship, and more importantly, to be able to be led in a relationship.
I'm so excited because
mm.
again, the maturity y'all display,
Wow.
I'm just like, okay,
Awesome.
I almost feel like Uncle Stu, and I would ask you, Brown Eyes, because again, you were talking about a sense of self awareness. And shout out to Seattle Black Veteran, always here to support you, sis. Good topic. Thank you, Seattle Black Veteran, and for always supporting. But that self awareness and self actualization where you want but don't need somebody,
Mm-hmm.
we this again, Uncle Stu, I know you just talked about the younger ladies, but there are many, and Brown Eyes, maybe you on your time on the dating scene can add whether or not that type of leadership that you can trust. I don't know that that's readily available in who I see in these streets. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. It does. I know there are good men with great leadership ability out here,
Mhm,
but
I
mhm.
to
would agree
have
with that.
that, it's
Not
like
everybody's
again,
for every person.
pardon me.
I would agree with what you just said, because not everyone is for every person.
Exactly. So that type of self development, that's like a
Hmm.
woo. You
You've
got to
got to be
really.
able to
I have
know.
cousins when I look at their husbands and I'm like, they have found that. I
Hmm.
was like, did that man grow like that? Some of them didn't even have fathers,
Hmm.
but they have great principle or they had good role models
Exactly.
and their leadership skills. Some of them went to the military. Some of them have other leadership. I guess you would call it training,
Hmm.
but they are leaders at the core. I think it's easy to
Mhm,
follow a leader, and we were talking about those characteristics that we have just mentioned, which is again, I know you know that I know that you're gonna try to put us first. I know that it's not a selfish thing with you. I know that there's no um lack in you to cause you to need to be ego driven or need to be
mhm,
selfish or self-centered and prove you're right. There's so much more to a person in terms of your own interpersonal development
Hmm.
that goes into the level at which I can trust you, so that we're at this space where I can say, all right, we've y'all sound like y'all at a table mapping out the good and the bad and the consider all factors and all that. That is such a mature way of looking at things, and hopefully it will help somebody who may not be at that age and phase, or maybe dealing with a partner who's not. Because that's why I really was like, clearly from the example that I started out with, there are unevenly yoked people that are married.
Right.
Let's just call it like y'all are clearly made for each other.
Exactly, right?
It's some slavery going on. I don't want to say it like that. Not to make, slavery, any type of trivial subject at all.
Mhm.
But I'm
Right.
just saying, it's some people living under some oppression, Uncle Stu, where they
Yeah.
Yeah,
don't have the trusting and level of maturity and the leadership, as we've been describing, in that other partner to know, wait a minute, this is a team sport. It's not me against him. We are
right,
together in this, and I
right.
trust him enough to believe in him because I chose him to lead where we're gonna go. So I know that is a hard thing for some because their leader is not like Mr. Vaughn and a Uncle Stu. Let's just be real. You get what I'm saying?
I
I
do.
find this. I just want
Exactly.
to kind of open it up a little bit to some realities that I know beyond where you guys are, which is a great place to be, because there are a lot
Yeah,
of people who didn't
right.
marry well or equally.
Yeah.
Let's just call it what it is.
And
MC
and
recovery.
and,
Go ahead.
and
Go
if
ahead.
I could if I could
Yeah.
interject here
Go
Well,
just
ahead.
for a moment. Um, yeah, you're absolutely right. There are some circumstances that people are going through that just it's not matching up. And
Mm-mm.
I man, with everything in me, I get exactly what you're saying because we see the evidence of it. You
Yes.
know, even though I'm married, and I remember one young person caught me. They said, "Well, Vaughn, you're married and you're old, so you don't know that." So I had to take that, and just
You
carry
good.
on.
Leave us alone. We
But
have real problems.
yeah, but here's the thing. Yeah, these situations are definite, and it's a reality. Everybody is not meshing, and I will say this just to make sure that I'm well understood. You know, um, my wife trusts my lead because I follow God. You see what I'm saying? Now, I'm not
Uh,
trying to bring it too religious on everyone,
spiritualize it. It's all good.
but because I'm being led by
Mm,
someone higher than I,
right.
then she doesn't find it hard to follow my lead as I get direction from him. You
These
know what
young
I'm
men
saying?
still they still believing in
And
God around here, or what they
well,
doing?
but and a lot of them don't. And hey, this is a major issue. You know what I'm saying? Whatever your religious preference is,
Right,
you
right,
know
right,
but at the same time, that's the glue that's holding the marriage together for me. Now, I'm speaking from my experience, okay?
right, right.
I'm not trying to push a narrative on anyone. I'm just sharing what has worked for me and why my wife was in a position to follow my lead. Now, if she ever got to a place where she just didn't want to follow my lead, now we would have issues and we would have problems. See what I'm saying? Because now that's what's going to cause a great division between both of us. Because now you're incapable of following my lead. See what I'm
I
saying?
love it.
And
I agree
so,
with you, but
yeah.
I think
So at that
there's
point,
again a lot of different people who are, oh my gosh, shall I say it? Because no one can judge anyone's heart,
no,
but they are not walking a true faith
yeah.
or what's it
And it
called, a
doesn't mean
spiritual walk.
Suzette, it
well,
doesn't
see,
mean being perfect.
let
It
me,
doesn't mean being perfect.
yeah,
You know what I'm
let
saying?
me,
Oh no, not
yeah,
at all. But
Yeah.
it's a lot of
the,
fugazis in the church. It's a lot of
right.
There you
fugazis
go.
everywhere.
Exactly.
So
Yeah,
you can
first
have
of all,
men
we
that look
gotta,
like they go to Sunday school, look like they go to this, and they're doing it just to impress you. And then
right.
when you look at the
Right.
principles by which they live, you're
Right.
like, oh my gosh, I'm following a fugazi, but we're already married. You get what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
what do you do
Yeah.
then?
Well,
That's
see,
where I'm like,
here,
yeah.
yeah, here's the reality. First of all, the church ain't following God, so my men can't follow a
Well,
church that
now
ain't following Christ.
Oh
that's
my.
true.
Second,
That's
second
true.
thing you have to understand is how can I put into practice what I do not see? So you have to understand that, and I always say this, especially on my platform. I come from leadership. I come from 3 generations of wealth. I come from 3 generations of successful men that has been able to impart and teach and educate and motivate me in that way. So for somebody like myself, that leadership has already been groomed and developed in me. So I understand the pushback when young men say, X and Y and Z, because how can you know what is the real thing when you've always been fed the imitation? So the best thing for us to do is continue to live before the people. Let them see who we are before the people, and let them eat as they desire to eat before the people. So I'm not going to condemn people that has never seen the right thing. If you've only seen chaos, you don't know nothing but chaos. If you've only seen sorry individuals, you don't know nothing but sorriness. If you've only been drinking, fake milk, that's all you know to taste. But once you get a taste of the real thing, then you're going to know what is the good and perfect will of the Father for your life. So I'm not going to condemn my brothers. All I can do is show you the right way as it been shown to me. I can't force you to drink the water, but I can surely lead you to the lake. I understand their pain. The Bible says, I hear their cry. Why? They was in prison. So I understand the pains of my people, both my sisters and my brothers. I understand the pain. I understand the cry. So the question becomes, who is going to stand up and lead my people out of the bondage in which they are in? So the only thing that we can do is teach, educate, and show face to face. Unfortunately, they're not around me in the physical. So the only thing I have is to give it to them in the education. It is to allow them to hear what I got to say and begin to teach. As I begin to teach, those that has an ear to hear will hear. Those that has eyes to see will see.
That's it.
And so and that's how I got to see it. I always say, and Brown Eyes will tell you, I always say, number one, there isn't too many women out here. You don't think she hears everything that's going on in the manosphere? She do. And sometimes she gets disturbed, and I have to tell her, the women that they're talking about is not you. A lot of the women they talking about, it's not you. You're not them. You're not running around. First of all, you got to recognize. See, what she didn't tell you was, I got vetted by every man in her family, as well as her twin sister and her baby sister. See, I got vetted. So
me too, Uncle Stu. Look, me too.
Show up, but the inside joke, now she knows this to be true. She about to chuckle. The inside joke is, I tried to give her back to her daddy. Her daddy told me I spoiled her, so I can't even give her back. So we stuck.
I love it. No, but those are core values, though. So all jokes aside, those are core values. Bringing your family, your extended, your people who really know you into those decision-making processes, so we don't get the unequally matched up folks as often. Again, people can be deceitful, Uncle Stu. I'm just going to throw that in there, because I've seen people flip on folk, and you like, no, girl, you're not crazy. That's a different man now. Let's just be real. So we try to mitigate as much as we can. But I'm going to read this real quick, and I'm going to get Brown Eyes reaction to what is being said. MC Recovery Wellness and Relapse Network, thank you again for supporting. The Stream says, I'm late to the show and I got to push back to back. That's why I said some cap. Okay. Some things you're disagreeing with, let me know specifically, because I seem to find button pushers who ask their friends and family about my lead. That's maybe in your dating experience, button pushers who ask their friends and family about my lead. If you want to clarify, I'd love for you to come up. I'm going to drop the link. We got about 20 minutes or so, y'all. Let me drop the link one more again.
I'm not sure if I understand that. Is that a question?
Yeah, that's why I want to clarify.
Or just a statement?
No. I think I do. Okay. And let me know if I got it right. And if I got it right, that's a problem. What I believe he is referring to is his wife or whoever his spouse is going to family members, and the family members are interjecting in his relationship and interjecting into his leadership. And I find that a whole lot in many different relationships. That is the one thing that we do not do. I do not consult my family members as to what goes on in my house. And to my knowledge, Brown Eyes don't consult her family members as to what goes on in our house. So if I'm not mistaken, I believe that's what he's referring to. And if that's what he's referring to, you got a problem. Definitely.
And I would agree.
Let me know,
I would definitely agree.
Is that what you're
let me see if that's what he means. Yeah. Let us know
I would
discovery
agree
girls.
because
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, Vaughn. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I would agree with that because that particular issue right there is that causes a great separation in
Mm-hmm.
relationships when you allow family members to come in and infiltrate and make and get in between. And so see, this is why it says, leave your mother and father and cleave to your wife. It also means, in my opinion, family members. So
Oh,
sometimes
Jesus.
you
Not just a
you
mother and
have
father.
to
Leave auntie them and a
I'm
cousin
just
them.
I'm just saying,
Woo!
sometimes you have to come out from among them and
Yes.
just be separate. You know what
Woo,
I'm saying? And you
woo.
don't and it's such a barrier. We have to protect our relationships as well. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Because there's some outsiders that want to infiltrate. So we have to be well
Bitter
aware.
Betty's, bitter Bob's, all kinds of
Yeah,
people just don't want to
exactly.
see you happy because they're not. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. And s-
Yeah.
and unfortunately, a lot of times it's family members. A lot
Can't
of
tell
And
times
everybody
it's
everything because
family
sometimes you
members.
be gone over it. You gotten over it. You don't care about it anymore. And your mom and dad and everybody else remember what he did, right? So we got to
well,
be
Yeah,
very careful with what you share about your spouse to your people.
exactly.
You can't share
and
everything to your spouse. Let me read a couple more comments. Definitely.
yeah,
Thank
and
you
he
again.
did respond back.
Oh, he did? Okay, definitely starts with choosing the right person you can work with. Absolutely. Sandy B. Law, I almost confused you with Sandy W. earlier. I told them we were doing a show next Tuesday on the Chadwick Boseman estate, right? I was like, Sandy W., you're here. And I'm like, hey, that's Sandy W., not Sandy B. But good to see you, Sandy B. Law will be my guest next Tuesday. Kareem says, different strokes, different folks. I hear you. I know. Good evening, Quincy. Good to see you. Let me catch up in the chat. You know, I'm always a little behind. Let me see. TBA Trekking says, I need my wife. That's part of our connection. My life has meaning because of her. Wow. Wow. That's deep.
Amen.
That's
I'm
deep.
I'm I'm so glad somebody said that
Yeah,
because
I don't know. They
I
say
feel
that's
the
old
same
school and
way.
that's cap and that's
I
blue
feel,
pill and that's whatever. And
but you
No.
see, Suzette, listen,
I don't know.
I subscribe to being a loving husband. You see what I'm
Mm,
saying?
mm,
Even like they say, well, you love your wife like Christ loved the church. But
yeah.
but but when I'm loving like that, you see what I'm saying? She's definitely considered. Love doesn't just overlook you or overlook your opinion or overlook your feelings.
Yes.
And a lot of times, like I said, a lot of these young people, they feel like they're approaching relationships as a dictatorship.
Yeah.
Some of the young men are being misinformed concerning that.
Yeah.
You have to love that woman.
And I hear you. And I want to answer
You
the
have to
intentional
love her.
millionaire. We're not talking about dysfunction, but a lot of people are living in dysfunction, or we wouldn't even be talking about what we're talking about, the intentional millionaire.
Yeah.
So that's why he says, why are we speaking on people not in the best relationship versus using this as a learning tool? I think we're doing both. And I want to ground this in reality. That's why the intentional millionaire, because a lot of times, especially those of us in, what should I say, good elevated mindset bubbles, we tend to think that's how the world thinks, but we wouldn't have over a 50% divorce rate. We wouldn't have so many people not even getting married if this wasn't a huge issue. So it's not to dwell on the negative, and it's not to say what's wrong with it, but I really do want it to give balance to what, especially like the example of Uncle Sue and Miss Brown Eyes. They are
Yes.
super yin and yang. That's what we want to aspire to, but it's just not necessarily for someone who might pick this up and just watch it because it came up on the algorithm where they live. You understand? So I just want to acknowledge that and
Yeah.
just bring balance. I don't mean to say that's what we're going to. Yes, lots of freaks in church. Jesus, Doug.
Right.
You
But
know
I
sometimes they be
also
up in there.
right.
Come on,
But I
somebody.
also right. Good. When you finish, then I want to make a statement too.
Okay, and for the next 15 minutes, let's talk about solutions. I hear you with the intentional millionaire. I want to, what do you prescribe? Some of what you've already said, guys, gives us a great idea of the mindset one must have to love someone and find another person with that mindset so that you guys are matched and you're not the giver and they're not the abuser, figuratively speaking, and sometimes literally, like in terms of financial or emotional in other ways. So great. Okay. Quincy says discernment and asking the hard questions is important. I agree with you. Sometimes, again, people try to give you the front, and then you realize, wait a minute, you don't even really believe. I just met a home girl, moved from it's not my good friend of a friend, moved from ATL down here for a dude, have been dating him long distance for a year. and meeting up in Orlando halfway. They were doing, weekend visits and things like this, having the best time. He talked about how he loved to travel. He liked to go to restaurants. She moved down with an engagement ring. He is not that. He said he liked being by himself. He do not like traveling. He said he doesn't even like people. And I'm not using his real name. Say his name is like Bob. He's like, Bob takes care of Bob. And I was like, what happened to the Romeo that got you, sprung, basically going on long weekends? But she literally is going to have to call off this engagement. And I'm not making it up. I can introduce her and like interview her. Like she's going to, and oh boy, it's fine too. I'm not even gonna lie. Side note, but he's not who he presented himself to be for a year. And I was like, you know what? Better it happen now than you marry him. And then you end up like, that's why we got to get to know people. And again, sometimes we don't know them till like we know them. And so she's going through it. We actually discussed this at brunch on Sunday. And I was like, girl, you brave. And I'm proud of you for having the courage without shame of saying, dang, this one, no. I had told my family about him. He met my kids. My parents love him. But this one, nah, he's not who he says he is, right? So yeah, there's a lot of that going on. So discernment and just taking your time. Sandy B says, one thing that's important in relationship is to get rid of blame. For sure. Yes, you did this or you did that. Instead, talking about ways, I guess, that people solve issues. So don't blame. I agree with that. TBE Trekking says, I don't need religion to be married 20 years. I picked a good partner and we are good people. Well, I think religion provides principles. So if you're living by principles that I think coincide, I hear you. I don't think everyone needs, but I do think it provides a great framework. So if you found your principles and y'all agree on what those principles are and honor one another, hey, it works for you. I ain't mad.
Amen.
Quincy says, that brother reminds me of my dad spirit wise. Uncle Stu, my dad was a pastor and sounds like my pops. Okay, I could imagine. Yes, somebody says, how does Brown Eyes handle that her spouse is a famous YouTuber on these streets?
That's a whole nother can of worms now.
Yes, popularity brings them groupies.
Oh my!
The conversation just took a turn now.
Oh Lord! Right. I'm one of those Sir Hale Speaks, and the conversation
took a turn. Right?
Yes, that one. Okay, I'm not sure. MC Recovery, this is your chance. Last call on the panel to come up.
No. He answered that. That's what I was saying. That he.
Oh, he had said something else. I must have missed it.
Right. It's over.
Oh, here it is.
Meaning,
friend and family agree with my lead, but she didn't. It was exhausting. I'm implicitly saying, but she possibly didn't. Friend and family agree with my lead. It was exhausting. Okay, wow. Whew, yes, gotta vet the families. Uncle Stu, go ahead and respond.
It's
go ahead.
Not easy. It's not easy.
No, it's not. You don't know what you're gonna get sometimes.
And you have to be willing to meet the challenge.
I hate the word love in today's conversations.
Yes.
No, nothing towards you, Vaughn. I hate the word love. Why? Because number one, people do not know what that word means, and it's too emotional, and it's too simplistic, and a lot of times it is embedded in a form of unimaginable selfishness, because a lot of times we got to live a life that's without emotions. And a lot of times when we have to make decisions, we can't always make emotional decisions. There are some things in life that's not going to feel good. It's not going to feel like love, but it got to be done. There are decisions that sometimes you just got to push through. So when we keep saying love, what does that mean to different people? You know, when God says the word love, he did not speak in emotions. Love is the fact that I provide protection. Love is the fact that I provide provision. If you look in the word, if you try to use the Bible, what did Jesus say? He says, I loved you because I was willing to what? Die for you. He says, you know, even enemies would do for their enemies. I mean, you know, evil people would do for evil people, but a good man would be willing to die. So in my life is dying love. That is the form of it. That's just one idealism of it. So I don't like to use, brothers, love your wife, because some women ain't ready for no real love, because they're not ready for a man just to come in and be whole. You got to be whole first before you can bring in someone to bring in that wholeness. Because you got women that don't know what love, you got men that don't know what love. So like what did they say? What did Tina Turner say? What love got to do with it? And then you find out about the real Tina Turner. So we done twisted up this word and mingled this word love. So the best thing for me to show people what is loving brown eyes. Loving brown eyes is when she can come home and turn on the light and the light bill is paid. Loving brown eyes is making sure she got a roof over her head. Loving brown eyes is whether she want to go into the refrigerator and eat, or she called me and we going out to eat. We can go out to eat, and we ain't talking about no McDonald's. What is loving brown eyes? Making sure there's gas in the car, making sure, that bills are paid 100% and on time. What is loving brown eyes? Loving brown eyes is making sure that everything is done right. Although Uncle Stu is, yes, a YouTuber, I had a little change before I came to YouTube. But what is loving brown eyes? It is the fact that I make sure that the house is at peace, so she can be at peace, so she can be in her total feminine self. That's why she can be there, because she's allowed me to be the man that I already am. I don't have to worry about her talking about, well, I don't trust you that the light bills. Girl, I've been paying the light bill. You understand? We've been through trauma. And she didn't have to carry that trauma by herself.
Yeah.
Right.
That's love is
Now,
an action.
now if I could interject just for a moment here.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Now, me personally, and that's just me and Uncle Stu could differ on this, but I don't have a problem with the word love or loving. I just don't. It's never going to leave my vocabulary. I believe that love is patient, love is kind. Love does not envy. It does not make boast of itself. It's not proud. You see, love doesn't dishonor others. It's not self-seeking. It's not easily angered. There's so many characteristics about love that we could talk about. It keeps no record of wrong. Love covers a multitude of sin. You see what I'm saying?
Some real
So yeah, now me personally, now listen, when I went see, my devotion is my love for my wife, and I can't take that away, because it's deep. The song, How Deep Is Your Love? It runs deep. You see what I'm saying?
It's deep.
So it's a word that I can't, and I get it. It's a misused word.
No, I understand his point, because he's saying that people throw it around and it's so lightly used, and people don't really know what it means because they never had it. They don't know the love of God.
Right.
So they can't love themselves, and then they can't love you. Love your neighbor as yourself. You don't love yourself.
Exactly.
So
I get that.
And sometimes in that term, it's heavy. Right. I get what he's saying.
I get exactly what Uncle Stu is saying. I do. It's just me personally. That's a word.
No,
that
I
runs
use the word
deep
love
for me.
too, but I know what it means.
You know what I'm saying?
It's a selfless. What they call
yeah.
it? You have agape, you have eros.
Yeah. So but he's very true when he says that we really don't know what that. A lot of us don't know what that word means.
Y'all hit the like button. We're doing work over here.
But see, I've lived long enough.
One more, just to kind of get the last comment. I'm gonna give Uncle Stu and Brown Eyes the kind of final words up here. We're talking about when to consult your spouse on especially tough decisions. When do you need their permission / just making them aware? Let me ask you, I had started this scenario, and I'm going to go back to something a little bit lighter, where, the friend girl of mine in our group was saying you can consult your spouse on hard, which I say healthcare decisions and things like that. Let me kind of make it a little bit lighter. When people, like if you're married and your wife wants maybe elective surgery, my friend girl mentioned things like lipo or things like this. Would you expect her to consult with you or confer with you on those type of decisions?
Yeah, especially
is that like a no-brainer? Like, duh. Like, I don't know.
It's a no-brainer for me.
Yes.
Because
okay.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure.
I'm sure she would expect me to do the same.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Because men are having a whole bunch of stuff done too, by the way. See what I'm
Please,
saying?
open mic,
No,
baby. Let's
I know
go.
that. I know that's
It's
not
true.
a topic of
It's
conversation to
true.
some, but some men are. But I would expect her to let me know that, you know. And what is it about you that makes you feel that you need that? You know, maybe there's some things that we can do together to correct it besides actual surgery or something like that. You know what I'm saying? But I would have to consider it. Hey, if this is something, my wife had weight loss surgery, and when you have weight loss surgery, sometimes you have a little excess skin,
Oh
you
wow.
know. And if she wants to have that removed, then why would I object to that?
Right.
You know, because that could be a health issue as well, right? So, it's like you just have to take it under consideration.
I
Now,
love
to
it.
me, and,
Mm-hmm.
and, and in my opinion, if it's something that I feel that no, please, you want a bigger butt or you want a this and a lifter, listen, I like your butt the way it is. See what I'm
Not to
saying?
lift in the tongue. Now
When you
you
when
got
you go
some men
to
out here
yeah,
want you to
well,
go to the doctor and
I'm
like,
just
ma'am.
and some men do prefer that. You
Yeah.
see what I'm saying? But at the same time, at the same situation, listen, I would expect her to come to me, you know, and if I was to suggest that no, this is a procedure I think that you should not have, I would hope that she would respect me enough not to do that. If it's just a cosmetical thing that can be helped by doing natural things.
Right.
I don't know if you understood what I
No, I
said when I
understand.
said
I
that.
understand.
You know
Antoine,
what I mean?
I love that he
But
said adults don't need permission to make decisions. They need discussions to make decisions.
exactly. So
I
so
like
so
that.
but
Hmm.
here it is. Please, by all means, bring the conversation to me because I'm your husband.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm
I
saying?
would hope that trust is there, that it would be like, oh no, let me call my babe and see what he thinks. Or, I mean, I could see myself calling for the most simple things like oil change prices or like
Yeah.
just basic things. I would want to involve him, not because I have to, just because I think it's a way of living. Like
Right.
the big and the small, the big and the small. It's like, and I don't want to say like maybe Mormons use the word Godhead. I don't use that terminology. It's
Mhm.
not for me. I don't understand husbands to be Godhead. I think that's in some religious traditions. But
Well, I'm not
leader,
God.
no,
So
but leader.
just,
Yeah, no, they were like
you
that man
know.
is a representation of God for your family. But as I interpret it, y'all
Well,
Mormons correct me,
some people
please.
take these that they get caught up in Suzette, people get caught up in these
Very
semantics.
deeply. But
And
again,
and
then
I
you
just I
cannot
can't
speak
do it
against
personally.
any decision. You are
Yeah.
that's God. So
But
I'm like,
it's really not that complicated. It's not that
no,
complicated. You both
no,
sit down and you discuss with each other. Some discussions are
exactly.
for the table. Some
Right.
decisions are made for just the husband alone.
Yes,
But at
I
the same
agree.
time, he has enough respect for his wife to where he just doesn't make a decision. He
Yeah.
sits down and he explains, this is why we're going to move this way
Yes.
and that way. So,
Exactly.
in other words, I'm
That's a
still
part of
going
the
to
decision. You know,
regard you. I'm still
that's so good.
regarding you.
That's so
Yeah.
good. That's so
Thank you.
good. The involvement in the discussion. I've made the decision, and not because I have to explain it, but I want you to be comfortable with this decision. So I'm going to bring you into, babe, this is how I'm looking at this because of blah 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 blah. I think
Mhm.
that would be it would be um it would put you at peace much more than someone who is, again, the term used tonight, dictatorship, or something of that nature. That's a part of leadership though. Like even if I'm in a group at work, I'm not just making decisions, I'm bringing everybody along so they can trust and understand and see my thinking. And I think that is a tool, or a, which I say, a skill set that many folks who are leading a household don't have and need to have, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Yeah.
But I
And
think you describe it very well. Yeah,
yeah,
it's a part of
and I would
leadership.
just yeah, and I would just like to say in closing, because I know you got to get on to the others.
Yeah, no, I
You
want to
know,
bring up I want
yeah,
to
I
give you
know.
a moment, but I
And
want them
just
to
two
close out
seconds
the show. Yeah,
if you will. Yeah.
sure.
I just want to encourage those who do seek relationships and marriage. I think it's a good thing, and that's what you should move toward, is marriage. A lot of times we're out here and we're pumping and dumping and doing all kind of stuff that we're doing. And it causes a lot of problems. But I would encourage you, for those of you who would love to be married, who desire a wife or desire a husband, you know, prepare yourself for such. There's a preparation that's involved. and figure out what that entails, because it's not all bad. It can be a very, very good thing. And that's all I wanted to say. But thank you, Suzette, for
No, you've done amazing. I
allowing
just want to,
me.
like I say, give
Wow.
you the flow because I know there are, so many different thoughts flowing, and I appreciate you, Vaughn. Yeah. Oh, did I? What am I playing?
I don't know. I
It's
have
playing
no
in the
idea.
background. It's playing in the background. So
But
thank
thank you
you.
so much. It was such an honor to
Appreciate
be
you
on your
being here on
platform.
that
Thank
note.
you.
I'll drop you down, Mr. Von Bryant, with some wisdom. Thank you very, very, very much for sharing your wisdom. 20 years in the game. So I'm going to bring up Uncle Stu and Brown Eyes to kind of round out the conversation. Mr. Von Bryant, I'm going to drop you back down. Thank you again for coming up and sharing your take. So where do we go from here? For those of us who want to be married, those of us who are maybe already in marriages, seeking ideas for solutions, right?
I'm gonna go
Consulting your.
first.
Go ahead, Brown Eyes.
No, go ahead. Finish what you were saying, but I just want to tell.
No, I was just going to reiterate the topic and let you guys go. So, yes, consulting your spouse is not always the easiest thing to do. And when they disagree, what else can be done? Where do we go from here as far as people who might be in a situation where the person may not be as mature as what you guys have described, or still dealing with, childhood trauma, or still dealing with other things? How would you advise them to try to step forward in I guess, a more, I don't know, because it take two to tango. So I don't know if there's a way one person can move together, but what would be your best advice, let's just say, based on everything that we've discussed tonight?
I personally think or agree with that comment about discussion. Because I think they're right in the sense that it's about the discussion that leads to the decision. And I think that's something that anybody, no matter what age they are, can learn from. And that's going to help them in any aspect of their life, whether it's marriage, engaged, dating, what have you. And I think that would have been a perfect thing for that friend of yours that you talked about.
Yeah.
That discussion, just because you played house for a year doesn't mean you had a discussion about anything.
No, clearly.
And
Exactly.
that's the problem, that people talk at each other and not to each other, and don't have the discussions. They think they're having the discussions when they talk about who's going to make the decision, because I want to make the decision or I want to make the decision. It's not about that. It's about talking about it and maybe coming to a mutual agreement. And then ultimately, like I said, and if you can't come to an even agreement, then yes, somebody has to take the lead. And that's the person that's going to lead your household. And just in my opinion, that successful household leader is going to be the man. Everybody may not agree with that, and that's okay. But for me, my life, Uncle Stu, that's what works for us. But you've got to get to that discussion. And let me tell you, having that is what has kept us from having the disagreements, believe it or not, because we were able to communicate with each other. And I can honestly say, in past relationships, past marriage, that is something that was lacking. And that's something that you as an individual and at any age need to look at yourself and realize, okay, did I communicate my thoughts? Whatever was in my head, did I bring that out of my mouth? Did I make that other person truly understand my thoughts, my feelings, my concerns? And if the answer to that is no, you're not having that discussion, which means you're not getting those points across. And like you just said, she said, it's the same thing even in your job. You have to know how to communicate. You have to have those discussions. Even a leader knows how to sit back and listen, because he's having those discussions with the people he or she needs to talk to. So that is what works for us. And that is why we have been successful, because we have those communications, right, wrong, or otherwise. That's my soapbox.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, want to make sure you are heard loud and clear. Thank you, Brown Eyes, for coming through. I wanted to make one quick correction because I was looking up some of the Mormonism. I'm like, I hope I didn't mischaracterize the religion as I'm going back. I've had some conversation with Mormons and those who are former Mormons. I was looking up how they use the term Godhead and they use it for Trinity. I was looking for the correct term of how they describe in certain sects. It's certain SECTS of Mormonism.
Mhm.
I wanted to get it right.
Mhm.
So Godhead, they use it in general to mean the Trinity, and I'm looking for the word I wanted to use instead. So I want to set the record straight, please. I want to not impugn anybody, but Brown Eyes, very well said. I just think it goes back to picking the right person. All of this leadership talk and you being able to talk and trust in Uncle Stu, it's because you picked Will, my dear. And once you have that person that shares those same values, not faking it till he makes it and presenting one thing but really living like another thing. It is a I don't know, sweet aroma to partake in terms of like metaphorically a relationship. But yes, so much wisdom in what you've just shared, my love. Thank you for
Oh,
being a
you're
part of tonight's
welcome.
discussion.
You're
You're always
welcome.
welcome over here. And thank you both for being like such great examples of how mature, loving, um, you know, equally yokeness brings peace to people's
Now
lives and
let's all
actually is
make
a
sure
blessing.
we wish Uncle Stu a happy birthday.
Oh, happy
His
early birthday,
birthday is
Uncle
this
Stu.
coming
Yay. Happy
Monday,
early
the
birthday.
4th of
Thank
July.
you.
So
Yes.
we want to make
It's
sure we
always a
wish him a happy
pleasure.
birthday.
All right. I'll talk to you soon. Thank you, Brown Eyes, again for coming through. And then
Bye.
bye now. And now, Uncle Stu, I mean, this is your show. So you've said already so many good things. So where do
Thank
you
you.
want to leave the conversation tonight? For those again who might not have what y'all have, which again takes a lot. I don't want to make it seem like it's just easy. It took a
Mhm.
lot of work for you to self develop, your wife to self develop, and then both of you coming together now without ego, without fear, insecurity, pain and trauma, to now be able to one person lead, one person follow, but have that, mutual respect so that it's not just I lead and I'm not, I'm blinders on. I know she got my back and I know he has mine. Where can we, I don't know, go from here, so to speak?
I like the words that intentional say. We have to become self-aware, exactly where we are. Become self-aware in your own development. I'm always going to say, have the knowing how to have not be in pieces, but be at peace in being alone. And then once you have that peace of being alone, you know yourself, and the person that you will be with hopefully knows themselves. And, once you know yourself and they know themselves, then you know how to have that communication. You know how to represent yourself. I always say, have a resume. What is your resume? Don't just tell me that you make all this money and you do this. What's your credit report like? What is your debts? You might have a Mercedes Benz and still be $40,000 in debt. um so you have to have a resume of success, and when you have that resume of success, then you know that you can lead towards success. I like to say it the way my mentor says it: success principles shall carry. So if you're successful, she's successful, you combine two areas of success, both of you will multiply that success. If he's not successful, you won't be successful. If she's not successful, you won't be successful. I understand that the road may be rough and the road is not easy, but you know what? You can still make it. Even no matter where you start, you determine where you're going to finish. And with that, I say, this is Uncle Stu, old man
Woo!
on the block.
That's what
Like,
we want, Uncle Stu.
subscribe, and definitely subscribe here, subscribe to me, and
Yes.
get that knowledge.
He says, I'm gonna leave it there. Mic drop.
And thank
Quincy,
you,
that's what we want.
Quincy.
He said, I sub to Uncle Stu, to your channel. Blessings, my good man. Yeah, he say basically you remind him of his pops, I believe. It was a beautiful thing. Sometimes
Yeah,
you
thank
see
you.
that that kindred spirit. But Uncle Stu is a wonderful content creator. And thank you so much, Vaughn, as well as Brown Eyes, along with Uncle Stu, for making tonight's show a wonderful discussion. I hope you guys got something from it. But like I said, show some love to Uncle Stu. Go over to his channel. He finished it up my month strong. We said June, Uncle Stu, and we just made it. Now he has to go celebrate his birthday.
Yes.
And again, thank you for being such an example. And not only, like Roxy Beckles said on our show yesterday, you know, and not only sitting on all that knowledge, you either die with it or you share it. So thank you for, even though it's stressful, even though people want to impugn your name, even though people want to criticize, but they ain't doing nothing, you know, to be here is not easy. When I say here on YouTube, and you know, it takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of preparation, time,
study, research.
Study. Exactly.
I can't just come off the top with stuff. I gotta have it.
It's my second job.
Yeah. So, and I've been off for about a month, so I'm getting back into it. I had to,
you gotta step away
go to New York and bury my dad. So
yes,
now
family first. Absolutely.
Family first. Yeah.
And I'm so grateful now that you're back, you know, going through all of that is tough. So here we are. I'm grateful that you came and blessed us with your knowledge. Like I said, there are going to be nuggets for different stages of life, different stages of relationships for everyone to take away from tonight's conversation. So thank you. Visit him at Uncle Stu, the old man on the block. Great having you. You know, you're always welcome over here. Thank you so much for always supporting me.
Oh, and, always.
Just a big fan. Thank you, Uncle Stu. You have a great
don't worry,
night.
We got Florida on our road trip. So
love it.
We'll be down there so we can get the
I love it. Thank you again. And you have a beautiful, blessed night. All right. Talk to you soon, my friend. I got to go, y'all. That was Uncle Stu, the old man on the block. It has been a fantastic conversation about just how to manage relationships. I want to tell y'all real quick, we got a good lineup, next 3 shows. Saturday, 12 noon, we got Greg Pill podcast coming through. He'll be talking about the realness of pretty privilege. He chose that subject matter. So I'll be listening and a student to kind of what his take on it is, right? Is pretty privilege real? That's Saturday. I will be, the stream is already up. Go ahead and hit the notification bell so you'll know when it goes live. Monday, I'll be talking to a South Florida playwright director. He is putting on I think it's at the Performing Arts Center, one of them, a Black Shakespeare play coming up. I think it's going to be next weekend. Darius Daughtry will be talking about how he's made Shakespeare all black actors, a little South Florida twist. Very excited for him. And I'm going to have him on July 4th. Shout out to Darius Daughtry. And then Tuesday, Sandy B. Law comes through. She is a fantastic sister-in-law, also from Miami. And she'll be talking with me about Chadwick Boseman's estate. It was just settled, and she does practice in the area of estates, wills, and trusts. So we're going to do a little deep dive into the Chadwick Boseman estate. Y'all saw that. Well, I'm not going to give it away. What, his wife is getting and why, and what his, the estate, how it got divided up because he had no will. We're going to talk about it. So make sure you support, hit that like button on your way out. Was your dad? Okay, thank you. I thought you said dad. I was like, did he say grandpa? No, he said dad. Yes. Yes, success does not carry, success sustains. Lots of good quotes from you, Antoine Christopher. Thank you for coming through. Lots of good wisdom in the chat as well. Thank you to everybody watching. Thank you to my chat. Always undefeated. Really enjoy seeing what you guys have to say when we bring up topics like tonight. So yes, come back. Saturday, Pretty Privilege. Monday, July 4th, Black Shakespeare. And then Tuesday, Sandy B. Law talking estates, Chadwick Boseman's estate. All right, love y'all. Peace and blessings. I'll see you on Saturday. Oh, Patreon behind the scenes tomorrow. If you guys don't know, I have a Patreon behind the scenes tomorrow. I will be moderating another political debate. That's part of what I do in real life. And I'm going to offer my Patreon, my top 2 tiers of Patreon only. Kind of just behind the scenes, not too crazy, but just seeing what it's like to prepare and get ready for and interact with, the whole team and the crew as I prepare for a moderation of a political debate for local elections here in South Florida. That's something I've done 2 so far. This is my 3rd one. I'll be doing 1 more in July. So that's why you won't see me Thursday. That's why I moved up my show to today. But we out here. We trying to, you know, be the best we can be. And I have a passion for keeping people informed, specifically as this is an election year, and y'all can tell it's so much going on. So there's a lot to talk about. I don't know if you guys been watching January 6th. Testimony yesterday was really interesting. There's a lot of good topics out there, but we're going to take them one at a time. But for now, I have to tell you good night. I wish you a great rest of your week. Thank you again. See you on Patreon. For all my Patreon members, I'll send out a reminder. And have a good night, y'all. Thanks for watching. See you very soon. Take care. Hit the like button and subscribe. Good night, everybody.